Yeah. I said, and Paramount said out here for a bitch in the north. And hold me get back confidence. I'm the algorithm glitching when the ceiling gets tested. Turning panic into profit, lead the critics infested. Every sentence got decimals, my talk is invested. I don't flex with possessions, I flex compound interest. I was born in the red, now the balance immaculate. Turn a doubt to a dividend, savage with averages. I see fear in the headlines, I feast on the scandal. Turn the wick into weapons, watch the candles get handled. And every move is a message, every loss is a lesson. I don't pray for forgiveness, I pray for aggression. Got a boardroom memorial you can smell when I enter. I don't chase what's trending, I invent the incentive. Turn ink into gold with a stroke of intention. My pen print money, every quota suspension. Of disbelief, they ain't ready to mention how I turn speculation into cold apprehension. I juggle time zones, my sleep on layaway. Jet lag, but my net worth wide awake. I don't follow the wave, I design the tide. Put a throne in the clouds, let the skyline decide. I speak fluent leverage, my grammar is risk. Every bar hit heavy like a margin called kiss. I don't gamble with luck, I romance with the odds. Make a guide out of data, then I profit off guides. I don't cap, 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 I don't cap. I'm calm when it crashes, that's the hunter in me. While they flinch at the fire, I'm adjusting my seat. I got blood on the spreadsheet, still cleaning the soup. Every loss just a ghost that I'm teaching to loop. I don't blink or collapse, I just circle the wreckage. Turn the rubble to leverage, every ruin the message. They scream into the world, I hear clearance sale. Put a crown on my balance, watch the narrative fail. I've been rich in the mind, not a paper a line. They was loud with opinions, I was patient with time. Now my silence expensive, every word costs a fee. If I nod, markets move, that's authority. I don't need validation, I validate trends. I don't break under pressure, I pressure my friends. To elevate vision, eradicate limits. I've been rich so long, money started acting like minutes. Every step is historic, every breath is a flex. I don't chase what's next, I collect what's left. From the ashes of fear, I built kingdoms of mad. Left footprints and profit, paved roads out of crash. They asked how you do it, I laugh and I sip. I don't chase every dollar, I make dollars flip. Now the crown feel heavy, but my neck reinforced. I ain't king by opinion, I'm king by force. Print it, flip it, count it again. Print it, flip it, count it again. Flip it, count it again.
Oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother. Good morning. Is my hair okay? Are we ready? I'm a little short here. Let's move that. Dude, just gotta stretch it out. We gotta get ready for today. It is a beautiful Thursday, February the 5th, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that you guys are here at the crack of dawn. What is it, 9:04? I don't even know if anyone else in the world is up yet, and then yet here we all are, ready for another fun-filled day in the world's largest casino. Folks, I think it's going to be a pretty fun session because I'm expecting higher volatility, higher ranges, a lot more degeneracy, a lot more opportunity, and we have a lot to chit chat about. So instead of messing it up like I normally do, I'm going to start the poll now because I did buy another Vanquish account. So please don't screw me over for the 19th time. Market at open. Let's put up the poll now so I'm not rushing you guys. Let's get this going. Hang on. Hold your horses. For Rumble chat, I'm going to come back to you right before the market opens. So we're going to run the poll now on YouTube. It's going to stay up till 9:30. And then on Rumble, I'll be coming right back to you. But hey, we'll see how this one actually goes. So, man, I don't know where to start. I guess I'm just, What's it? What does Will Ferrell yell? I'm a glass case of emotions. Is that what he yells in Anchorman? I'm a glass case, a glass box, like whatever it is. That's how I feel like right now. When I believe it was Anchorman, when he's like just screaming in the phone booth. That's how I feel, because as many of you have been on me with this journey, whether you started back in the match strats days, which is kind of crazy. If you're still watching now and you found me in the match strats days, at this point, you're more than family. We're basically the same person. Maybe you found me a little bit after that when I quote unquote blew up because of the whole AMC GME thing. Maybe you found me because I became the villain of AMC and GME, which is basically when I called out the top, and I was completely right about that. Maybe you found me a little bit later for being one of the best prop traders on this side of the Mississippi. Maybe it was from pure education. But my point is there's been many pathways and avenues, and I know a lot of the people in the audience right now have joined up with the Goonie trading community at different times, and whether it was as recently as right now, or maybe it was all the way back in 2020 when I first started it, March of 2020. I just wanted to say thank you. And certain times you get to big points where like you kind of realize that you take a second to look back and see where things have kind of been, how they're going. And obviously there's certain big levels. Like I hit 100,000 subscribers. That was an awesome day on YouTube. I hit 100,000 on Rumble. That was an awesome day. The first time streaming to 1,000 people. That's a big deal. 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, 50,000. At one point, I was streaming to 88,000 people live concurrent. And it's moments like that honestly, like you either need to pinch yourself or you're going to shit yourself. So there's all these cool things. And I mean, obviously with it, you guys have seen wild trades, this, that, the other thing. And I was fortunate enough to be in the Discord yesterday, wrapping up some of the trades that we were talking about on stream. And you know what? Instead of just talking about it, I'm going to show you guys. I had the, I guess, realization that right here, what I have highlighted from this account right here all the way down, that's 15 accounts. If you total those up, and I kind of put this out on Twitter, so I'm not trying to like bury the lead or anything here. I realized I hit the goal. I hit $1 million. Just realized my Apex accounts have hit $1 million in net profit. Of course, you could get into the nuances of the fact that on these accounts, it's technically plus another 150,000 because I'm doing it. I'm just talking about like right now, the accounts. We're not talking about payouts, previous payouts. We're not talking about the 90-10 split at a certain area. I'm saying right now, from the point that I started these accounts at $50,000 each. The biggest one has grown to 118,000. The smallest one has grown to just below 116. This is not counting the extra 10,000 each that I've already requested, 5 payouts, 2K each. I'm just saying like right now at this exact moment in time across these 15 accounts, they are up $1 million. And it's just one of those like aha moments where like, wow, like it's a big goal of mine. It was a big challenge of mine. And the story's not over. As you can tell, the fact that we're talking about it right here, the fact that these accounts are right here, I don't know what I'm doing with these accounts. I guess I'm going to give it one day to kind of settle. I don't, if I end up trading these accounts today, it's 100% an accident. My plan is to not trade them today because I need to decide what I want to do. How degenerate am I going to be? When I hit 500K, everyone was saying to take the money. When I hit 600K, everyone was saying to take the money. When I hit 700K, not only was everyone starting to take the money, you folks were reaching out to my family to tell them to tell me to take the money. Above that, everyone's like, dude, you got to take some. We're going to lose our mind. And I've been told at every single level to be taking the money. And it's one of those things that I understand that I'm a little bit more risk accepting. I understand that many people in this world are far more risk adverse than I am. Like, hey, I get it. But it's even getting to that point to me where not just the money, which is I would consider life-changing money. We're talking about 7 figures, and I get it. You can get into the details of, Matt, but what about your expenses? But what about your taxes? And I get it. But hey, at the end of the day, the tax man is going to be the tax man. And even if you take that away, it's still good money. But I'm just saying, in terms of a goal, like just like purely, I set out for a goal, and my goal was to make $1 million. And it's one of those things where like you just work hard to do it. And obviously you guys have seen it all. I mean, I don't know this, But I believe when it comes to the world of prop trading, and please honestly feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I'm the first person in the world to stream prop accounts and make $1 million. Other people before me have made $1 million. In fact, I think the biggest payout ever is in the twos. It's like more than double this, but I don't think they were streaming the entire saga. I don't think they were doing the daily updates. I think some of them, a little bit of a social media following, maybe posting here and there, but and please 100%, like, correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, I believe I'm the first person on God's green earth to stream the entire saga, the entire story of starting with nothing at zero and trading it all the way up to $1 million. It started in late October. We're here in early November, and it's been quite the journey. Me, Kevin. Oh, other people have streamed making $1 million. I'm saying with prop accounts. I believe I'm the first person to stream prop trading, which is obviously the newest, hottest fad in the world of retail trading, and making $1 million. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of absolutely crazy. And I guess I just wanted to say thank you. I know we're kind of like awkward in the middle. The story's not over because the money's still in the accounts. Maybe I choose to trade. Maybe I do better. Maybe I do worse. But it is one of those weird, almost like a video game, like a check save point, if you will, of like, let's take a beat here and see what's going on. So the fact that it's a Thursday, I might not even trade them tomorrow. Maybe I need the weekend to think about this one. Obviously, I have the other accounts, and obviously, I will be trading those. I'm not saying all of a sudden your boy's turning over a new leaf and he's no longer a degenerate. I didn't take crazy pills this morning. I'm just saying those specific accounts I might not be trading. By no means am I hanging up the old degeneracy hat. No, dude, folks, we're ripping it. We're absolutely still ripping it. We might just not be ripping it on those specific accounts. So I don't want you guys to be like all of a sudden shaking and be like, did Matt just say he's done with? No. It's all right. Maybe I didn't present it properly. Maybe I did scare a few of you in here. No. The degeneracy is here to stay. It's just a question of where are we gonna put that degeneracy. Talk to your wife, get her input as well. I did. I talked to my wife. I talked to my team. I talked to some of my fellow trading friends. I actually even reached out to some of the other people who've gotten 7-figure payouts on Twitter. Some of them have read it, and I had a conversation with a couple of them. Other of them have left me on red. It's one of those things. Whatever. They don't know me anything. But I'm trying to get as many inputs as I can because, hey, I don't want to fuck this up. Folks, if I do, this is the third time in my life, in my old, rugged, ragged life of 31 years, that if I were to fuck it up, it would be the third time I fumble a 7-figure bag. I did it with AMC and Jimmy. I did it with Apex in March of last year. And I don't know if I can take on the psychological hit of doing it a third time in a row, you know? It doesn't feel like I want to be one of those people where I had the bag, fumbled it. I had the bag, I fumbled it. At a certain point, it's almost self-abuse. I might have to sue myself for financial abuse if I do it a third time is something that I'm very much thinking about. But what I'm really trying to say, obviously, from the get-go, whether you've been here for a day or whether you've been here since 2020, I want to say thank you. We're at one of those very fun, exciting chapters in our community's history. So obviously for that, I wanted to say thank you. And I guess I wanted to let you know that we're in the final few pages of this chapter. The chapter's not over. I don't officially know what I'm going to be doing. The next chapter might even be more degenerate. I don't know if this payout's going to get approved, not approved. I don't have many answers at this moment in time, but I know we're at that check save point where some decisions have to be made. So just for here, I'm not trading them today. I'm not trading them tomorrow. Of course, I'll trade the other accounts. I'll trade my options accounts. We're still trading. But I guess I just wanted to take a beat to kind of just see how crazy this all is. Matt, what do you think about metal trading restrictions with Apex? It's not just Apex. It's actually a lot of SIMDA-funded firms right now. And why is that? I think they're just getting taken for their money, if I had to guess. if I had to guess, because they're moving so crazy that if you have half your accounts going in one direction and half your accounts going in the other direction, and these are all like approved funded accounts, well, half the accounts will blow out, but the other half of the accounts are going to have a lot of sim profits. So that's just me guessing, but just to clarify, it's not exclusively Apex. We're starting to see more and more firms do the exact same thing, which are all take profit and start again. I appreciate that. And for some weird reason, why did that not come up? I thought I had the alert set up. I thought I hooked up the talk to text, but I am not seeing that right now. It should be coming up. Well, that's a bunch of baloney that it's not. The mini feed, it's not coming up in my Streamlabs for some reason. That's odd. That is a wee bit odd. Why is that not working? Anyway, CJDV, that should have come up. There should have been a little talk to text on my face. I guess I broke something, so I'll figure that one out later. But I was trying to get the talk to text to work, but whatever. We'll get to it. I know I'm being a little bit long-winded right now, so let's take a quick break. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions on this, obviously, but let me do my job and kind of get you guys ready actually for today. What is this? OpenAI launches new enterprise platform to bid to win more business customers. Interesting. Anyway, S&P 500 futures struggle after 2 days of losses with tech shares lower and Bitcoin dropping. It is not looking good this morning. Bitcoin briefly drops below 70,000 as a sell-off continues. Bitcoin falls below 70,000 as market faces a crisis of faith. So there's a lot of, I guess, bearish movement this morning, and it's not just equities, it's not just digital gold, actually it's real gold and other precious metals. Silver resumes its slide, plunging 11% after a short-lived rebound. So let's take a quick look at what's going on. The SPY is below the low from yesterday. If we were to open right now, yes, you could play that upside gap fill. The Qs are also below the low from yesterday, which, surprise, surprise, does mean you could play that upside gap fill. AMD got absolutely clobbered yesterday, losing 17%. Google had good earnings, was holding, and then got hit, and it's currently down 6%. Gold is down 2.2, and silver is now down 12.4. Folks, it is a bloodbath this morning. Now, I 100% did not anticipate this. I'll be the first to tell you that, my analysis was rather rudimentary. Cool. We keep wicking at the 50 EMA. I'm looking for this to bounce. I said in the update video, as soon as we take out a previous high, I'm going to be as bullish as you could possibly be. But we're just at the point where we didn't take out a previous high. In fact, we are working on taking out a previous low. That is true for SPX. That is true for NDX. Bitcoin, it's below 70,000. It's taking out that April low of 2025. And at this point, the next stop is the mid 60s. And then from there, we're talking about anywhere from 50 to 60. So I think really 50 to 60 would be an interesting, hey, we see previous support. Is it going to hold it? But this thing is getting demolished. It's from 126 down to 69. The year-to-date returns are down 20%. And folks, we just started February. So that's absolutely brutal. Looking at the daily chart of gold, remember how I told you I was looking for the volatile bounce, and then the height of the bounce is telling to me the height of this bounce was not a high bounce. We broke out at 902. We got as high as 511. That is not good. We officially have a lower high. My next test is the 50 EMA, and if it breaks that, look out below. I've been saying it all week that the height of the bounce on gold and silver is going to be very, very telling. If you don't believe me, go fact check me. This is the most lethargic, pathetic little bounce that I've ever seen. I think this is going to get worse. I think the selling continues specifically on gold and silver in the short term. Now, if you're a long-term gold bug, hey, don't let my short-term commentary mess you up at all. Long-term, I still think it's fine. We're talking about short-term trading here. And the fact that this was just the most sad dead cat bounce, that is not good. Not good, not good. So if you happen to be in this, the trend is changing. And maybe you don't use the daily bars for trend, but whatever you use for trend identification, if the trend is switching against your position, dude, take your profits and move on with your life. If you're in the red, take the hit and move on with your life. Once again, this is for active trading. If you're investing, that is once again a very different game. Very quickly, larger news. China's Xi reasserts Taiwan's stance and call with Trump while U.S. president pushes trade. So a couple important conversations going on right now. U.S. and China talking. Tomorrow, U.S. and Iran talking. So there might be some political movement, especially when you see what's going on with Iran. We saw craziness in oil. How's oil looking right now? Actually taking a hit, but you can see yesterday when it was announced that talks and tensions are not going so well, oil did end up ripping from 63.50 at one point to 65.50. Obviously, it's calming down right now, which might represent a calming down in the situation with the U.S. and Iran. But my point is like, obviously, these are things to pay attention to. With respect to our market today, yeah, maybe we're going to get the jolts, but it also get punted again. It looks like President Trump is speaking at 7 p.m. tonight. But the big thing of the day is, yes, initial jobless claims coming in slightly higher than expected. But really, it's just the ECB, the interest rate decision from the European Central Bank. It came out exactly at expectation. So in terms of major macroeconomic news that might just be pushing the market at like 9:45, 10, no, that's not really happening today. This is new. President Trump speaking at 7 p.m. tonight. That's new. So you might want to be paying attention to that. But please remember, we have individual equities to talk about. Bank of England holds rates for now, so when's the next cut coming? Probably not that soon. Layoffs hit their worst since January levels since 2009, so we're getting some data from Challenger, but yeah, a little bit of weakening there. So moving on to individual equities. Yesterday, we heard from Alphabet, aka Google, ARM, Qualcomm, and Snapchat, and today we're hearing from Amazon, Strategy, Roblox, and Reddit, and even Affirm, so you might want to be paying attention to those. Alphabet, aka Google, resets the bar for AI infrastructure spending. Across the board, they pretty much beat. Google parent Alphabet shares are down pre-market after its earnings beat. Here's what's happening. Google parent Alphabet shares were down in pre-market today, Thursday, after the company beat Wall Street's expectations on earnings and revenue. The company said it would be increasing spending on AI in 2026. No duh. Investors are dumping software stocks this week over concerns that AI could replace traditional software products. So think of like Datadog and plays like that, not doing the best. Google's earnings were good. I'm actually surprised that they are down. And if you look at Google, I think this has quite a bit more to do with the fact that the overall market is getting hit rather than the earnings themselves. So on any legitimate dip, I am more than happy to be buying Google. Snap shares rise on fourth quarter earnings that beat on sales. So let's look at Snap, SNAP. It's down, same thing. Nothing's holding. These were good. Wow. Snap vomiting from 9 down to 6. I guess all those, is this the lowest? It's not the lowest value ever, but we're getting real close to the lowest value ever. Looks like it's just below 5, maybe 470, 480, something like that. Snapchat coming up on its all-time low. I guess all those Gen Z kids who, to my understanding, this is their main mode of communication. Wrecked. The real Trexie, it feels like Gen Z is getting wrecked on that one. Shares of ARM plunge in after-hours trading amid concerns over smartphone chips. Basically the exact same thing with Qualcomm, but if you look at ARM here, currently down 6%. So across the board, things are in the red, even though not all the earnings were bad, but when the market's getting this hit, it's something you have to consider. Even though it didn't have earnings, I want to bring this up because I think this is going to be one of my favorite IPOs ever. SpaceX seeks early index entry as it prepares massive IPO. Musk advisors have reached out to major index providers seeking ways to secure earlier inclusion in market benchmarks to lift shares, as in being put in the NASDAQ 100, putting the S&P 500. That is a very, very smart play because what it does is all the people running family offices that mimic the S&P 500, they're going to be forced to buy it. Obviously, not only is this a spacefaring company, but it seems to be merging most likely with XAI, so then it becomes an AI play. And obviously, they're looking to get into the world of data centers. I just think there's so much to be excited about this. And hey, maybe this is just me, but I'm very, very excited. SpaceX seeks earlier inclusion in major stock indices to boost liquidity for its planned IPO. Now, depends on who the powers to be are making these decisions. Obviously, Elon is a very polarizing figure. So if the person making the decision is on one side, they might hate him, tell him to kick rocks. And maybe you guys remember this, but circa 2020, Tesla had the hardest time getting into the S&P 500. It met all of the requirements for multiple quarters in a row, and they were just basically blackballing them. And then eventually it just became such a big company that like their hands were basically tied behind their back and they had to do it. But for those of you who remember in 2020, this type of crazy stuff happens. Like there's a lot of politics in the world of who's in what index, why they're in it. And for the longest time, Tesla, which is now a top 10 company in the world, was just not allowed into the index. They were just saying no, no, no. And then eventually it did happen. So of course it could go the other way. Since it is political, maybe the person making the decision absolutely loves Elon, and maybe he's allowed to skirt around certain rules and regulations and they have the easiest time. I'm not saying it's going to go one way or the other, or I'm not saying it's definitively going to go one way or the other, but both of these are very real things. So just something to pay attention to. And since we have time, I just wanted to share this. Corporate DEI index sees 65% drop in participation from Fortune 500 companies. Is the woke campaign dead? Is the political pendulum coming back the other way? A literal 65% drop in the DEI initiatives in Fortune 500. Folks, are we literally seeing the pendulum stop in one direction and start to revert all the way to the other side right here? Is woke dead? Are they just done with this? Well, I guess maybe not, because it's not 100% drop. But I guess my question is it 2/3 dead? Woke went broke? That's seemingly what a lot of companies are starting to represent. It is kind of crazy. 65% drop. It used to be the biggest thing, but I guess over the past year or two, absolutely donezo. Absolutely donezo. If you haven't already, sign up for the newsletter. It's 100% free. MattKohrs.locals.com. Every single Sunday, you're going to get a breakdown of what's going on in the market, cheat sheet for earnings, cheat sheet for all the major macroeconomic events, and most useful is the seasonality for each individual day, where the bulls have won this day only 46% of the time over the past better part of 3 decades. But when the bulls do win, they win with greater size. So for the first 15 years, this was kind of bearish, kind of neutral, and then about 10 to 12-ish years ago, we started to see a clear uptick. So more like just in terms of the question of who is more likely to win, technically the Bears. But if the Bulls do win, they win with greater size. So that is the seasonality of today. It is not the end all be all. I just wanted you to know about it. And then tomorrow is pretty much perfectly neutral. There are periods of bullishness. There are periods of bearishness. There are periods of bullishness. And it literally nets out to being almost perfectly break even. So not really much of a seasonal influence tomorrow. Slight bullish one today. Just wanted to share that with all of you. And really before we get rocking, let me get this all ready. Did you guys vote? I'm doing it again. I figured that you guys led me so astray yesterday that there's no way you could do it again. So please, on Rumble Chat, YouTube's already voted. Hang on. Let's set the seriousness of this. We are once again allowing you, my chat, to trade my options account. At first, you impressed me. You dazzled me. You were on a heater. Win, win, win. And then out of nowhere, as recently as yesterday, you're committing what I can only refer to as serious financial harm to my bank account by being wrong. So, can you guys turn around the ship today? That is the question at hand. Let me switch this up. We are once again, I'm going to have it where I think you can see it a little bit better. We don't need the chart. Do we need this? 10, 10. We don't need the order confirmation. Where are we at over here? We're trading around 830. So I need to find 830. Okay. It's closer to here. All right. What time is it? We have seconds to go. 15 seconds to go. Bearish. One bullish. And then over here on, okay, you guys are all pretty much voting bearish. Okay. Dingity ding, ding, ding. Buy. Market. Come on. Faster. We're going. Sell with a single order. The fill is Where's the order? 34.50, 36. Boom! Easy peasy. Didn't question it for a second. 1900 locked in like no other. Folks, it took about right here. I was 11 seconds late to getting in. You guys voted bullish. 10 SPX puts, 11 seconds. And then another 12 seconds after that, we locked in $1,900. There you have it. Chat crushes it again. You've officially redeemed yourself. 12-second trade, $1,900. I shouldn't have questioned you. I shouldn't have questioned you. I appreciate that. That's probably the easiest $1,900 of my life right there. It's probably the easiest $1,900 of my life. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So there's our trade on that. We'll return to tomorrow. I mean, I just hope you guys learn from my extreme levels of disappointment yesterday that you just got to step it up. I need you guys to bring your A game. You got to bring your A game to this show. Yesterday, it got a little bit frothy. I'll be honest with all of you. It did get a little bit frothy. But you guys, you're on the path to redemption. So to all of you who voted bearish, thank you. To all of you who voted bullish, well, you were 100% wrong. And maybe, just maybe, you should really hunker down and study a little bit more. How much did that cost you? Well, that account, I think they're $4.99, I believe. You'd have to check Vanquish. But I also burned through 3 or 4 of them yesterday. So you might want to add that to the bill. You might want to add that to the bill. How much did you invest to win that 1900? A bunch of fun bucks, folks. A bunch of fun bucks. All right, obviously, we are going to be checking options flow. I'm not trading anything quite yet. Well, obviously, we just did that degeneracy stuff. But here are the key levels to be paying attention to today, at least according to market makers and the options market and all that good jazz. Yes, we do have an upside gap fill to 6838.8 upside gap fill. That is the low from yesterday. If you're playing that, obviously, that's where you would be going. Exactly the low from yesterday. SPX has an upside gap fill. QQQ has an upside gap fill. SPY has an upside gap fill. With very high odds, those levels will be hit today. Now, you might be asking why. There's a lot of thoughts and reasons as to why gaps get filled, especially in indices the very next day. And as to why, does it really matter? What you need to know is about the statistical likelihood of it happening. So the chance of us getting this upside gap fill, the chance of SPX at some point in today's intraday session, maybe it happens right now, maybe it happens in power hour, I don't know. But the chance of it happening today is in excess of 80%. And in fact, because of the distance here, it actually might be above 85%. So once again, just if the question is at some point today between 9:30 market open and 4 p.m. market close, what's the chance of this hitting? Literally, it is not just likely, it is very, very likely. It's not a guarantee. I'm just here to give you the odds of the market. But yes, the odds of us hitting this upside gap fill are quite high. And I wouldn't actually mind it if we hit that and then just keep trending up, maybe go for the red to green move. Still looking at the daily chart here. I would love to get back above 880, which is that 50-day EMA. So obviously that might take a little bit of patience to see how things either are or aren't playing out. But I am looking at this daily chart, 50 EMA. So we'll see how that does or doesn't go. Silver getting crushed out of the gate. Google got hit, recovering. I'm really surprised this thing's in the red, especially by 6%. It feels like it is a very strong report, but hey, I guess those are just my own opinions. But I do want to let you know, over the past 2 days when the market's been hit, I've been talking to you guys about how I am more than willing to buy the dip. That was true as of market close last night. As of this morning, the bull camp data did deteriorate enough that my official bias has shifted to neutral. I am not in the bear camp. I want to be very clear. I'm waiting just to see a little bit of data and how it plays out to see if I'm back into the bull camp. I'm closer to being in the bull camp than I am in the bear camp because I was bull camp. I barely got shifted neutral. And once again, this is not just a qualitative assertion. I'm just basing this off data. I'm looking at the structure, momentum, and options flow, and also just other macroeconomic events. To be clear, I was barely shifted from the bull camp back to neutral. I am not in the bear camp when it comes to these swing positions. Obviously, intraday, 5 minute, 10 minute, 30 minute, 4 hour are bearish. 5 minute, 10 minute, 30 minute, 4 hour are bearish. So if I were intraday trading right now, well, first of all, it's a little early for me to be trading because we're only 5 minutes in. And yeah, I'm looking at this upside gap fill. So I wouldn't be doing anything on the intraday basis, which is why I haven't done anything besides that trade that you guys did for me. Other than that, I'm waiting. But from a swing perspective, as in we're looking for the next couple days, next couple weeks, I barely got moved from the bull camp to neutral. I am not in the bear camp. For that to happen, the situation would have to get worse. We would have to see SPX and NDX not only push lower, a decent amount lower. I would need to see the chain become more put dominated. I would need to see stability drop, and I'd have to see more negative gamma beneath. That's what I'd be looking for. And right now, like I said, the data is just barely not bullish. It's been strongly bullish for a while. We got knocked into neutral, and I'm just waiting to see where it goes from here. Maybe the dip buyers are going to step in and I'm back to being bullish, or maybe aggressive selling is going to continue and then maybe I'll barely become bearish. But at this moment in time, as of 9:36 market open on this beautiful Thursday, February the 5th, I am just below bearish. I am stuck in neutral, but just below bearish. And in fact, if the market catches a bid once again today and we see aggression return to the options market, and I'm saying bullish aggression, obviously, then I would be back to being bullish. So just want to clarify my thoughts on this. And that's for the equities market. Bitcoin, short-term, bearish. Long-term, I'm still bullish. Please, when we talk about bullish or bearish, I think the time frame is very, very important. Same thing with gold and silver. Short term, I'm bearish. Long term, I'm still bullish on them. But short term, no, not having the best of vibes over there. Not having the best of vibes because the bounce was in fact extremely lethargic. Extremely lethargic. Matt, why can't you accept the bulls are on parade? Because they're not on parade. Not yet, at least. Anyway, the NASDAQ did get its upside gap fill, so if you played that, congrats to you. We hit the low from yesterday on QQQ. We hit it on NDX, so congrats if you played that. SPX still has a little bit of distance to go. We're about to hit it in real time. So once again, this is the low from yesterday. That's a gap. We opened up below it. There's a literal gap in the chart. You can see it on the daily chart right here, and we're about to close the gap right there. When we talk about gap fills, that's exactly what we're talking about, and we just got it. So how many of you played that? Throw a 1 in chat. Hit that 1 button. Or maybe the money bag symbol. Maybe that makes more sense. Throw the old money bag emoji into chat here if you ended up playing that and getting that quick upside gap fill. Because it's just a good statistical play. Obviously, if you guys don't know, yes, I'm a degenerate when it comes to the world of trading, but I try to base my degeneracy in actual statistics surrounding the market, which is why I believe I'm one of the few content creators within active trading, especially in streaming, who actually knows the stats of the markets. Like I said, the chance of this upside gap fill was in excess of 85%. So is it a guarantee? No, that's how odds work. There's a very high likely chance, but it's not a guarantee. But right there, the 85% chance played out, and it played out within 7 minutes. And there was some good money to be made there. I mean, that was, if you bought it right at open at 26, you sold it at 38. Obviously, calls could be involved. If you did it on ES, that's $600. If you did it on NQ, it's probably even more. There's obviously various ways you could lever it one way or the other, but it was a good play. It was a very good play. So congrats to you. Congrats to you. Just below bullish? Yeah. I mean, people think you have to be in the world of bullish or bearish, and they forget that there's that entire mid-level called neutral, which I would actually argue is where you should be most of the time. For whatever reason, in the world of retail trading, that is not commonly discussed. And I think it's a very important discussion, like a very, very important discussion. You don't have to be bullish or bearish. Those are two of the options. But there is a neutral category where you're like, yeah, just the data is not convincing in one direction or the other. So I think I see this a lot in chat in the feedback of like, what do you mean neutral? Well, it means exactly that. I'm not seeing compelling information in one way or the other. Please show us the gap on NQ. I don't know if there was a gap on NQ. There wasn't, because NQ trades the Globex session, so there's not one on NQ right now. Remember that trading time frame is going to show different levels of gaps, because if you're cutting it off at 4 p.m., if you're cutting it off never, because it's always trading on Globex. So there just was no gap on NQ. Generally, when you see a gap on NQ, the gap is created between Friday night's close and Sunday night's open. If you're going to see a gap on NQ, that's generally when you see it. You're more often going to see gaps on QQQ, and you're most often going to see gaps on NDX. Same thing with the S&P 500. You're least often going to see gaps on ES. You're more often going to see it on SPY, and you're going to most often see it on SPX. And that's more of, even though they're all tracking the same thing, it has to do with the time of when they trade. Just like, what are their trading hours? What's the data set for it filling out on your chart? So that would be the equivalent between the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ there. But buyers are stepping in. Look at that Google. I think Google could actually legitimately go green. This guy is walking inspiration right here. Yeah, I don't know. If I'm your inspiration, dude, you gotta find someone else, dude. I'm just a kid trying to keep his shit together, you know? I don't know if I would use that. That's a hefty word for a person like me. Inspiration, unless you're talking about it through the fact of like, it's an inspiration of what not to do and not to be. Like, if you're using me as inspiration, like, let's say you bring your kids and you're like, see, this is why you have to care more about school. Like, this is why you have to behave. This is why you have to respect your elders. You don't want to end up like this kid right here. I do agree with it from that particular sense. If you're using me as a cautionary tale to be like, hey, maybe get your shit together, or like, this is how bad life could be, I get that one. I would say that is, in a certain sense, inspirational. For sure. All right, here's a look at options flow. Maga 7 was flat, getting hit ever since 938. SPX did pop for the upside gap fill, and as soon as we got it, we were fading it actually a little bit before. If you want to be in the Goonie Trading Discord and trade with me, pinned to the top of chat in the description of the video. And if you want to trade with someone else's money, which I accidentally just hid from you right here, the current best deals, Apex's deal did end last night, so the best new deal in town is TPT, Take Profit Trader. Code Goonie, 40% off, and never pay an activation fee. And then pretty close, maybe it's a couple dollars more, is Lucid. Same thing. You can use that code Goonie to get a discount. So those are both in the description of the video, or you could just go to the websites, Goonie, Goonie. But I just wanted to let you know, as of this moment, Apex is not running a deal. It ended last night at midnight. So if you're doing it, in my opinion, you shouldn't have loyalty to any of these firms. They don't have loyalty to you. You should always be just doing the one that's the best for your trading in terms of their rule set and the best financial opportunity for you. You are here to try to make money, not necessarily have loyalty to a firm. So for me, I mean, I do use Apex. They're just not running a deal right now. I do use Take Profit. They happen to be running the best deal. I do use Lucid. They're running the second best deal. And I'm also using FFN, which is actually running a pretty decent deal at this moment as well. But Take Profit at this moment, as of 9:43 this morning, I would say is financially your best opportunity. It does change though. Like, day to day, you have to check where the best deals are. And obviously, whenever we're chit-chatting about it, it does change often. But my goal is to let you know where the best deal is. And right now, if you like Take Profit, congrats to you. And also Lucid is only a couple dollars behind. So just wanted to share that. Code Goonie will get you the best deal on both. And also, it's always going to get you the best deal in all the main firms. We're pretty much at the size that we're partnered with all of them. So always slapping Goonie. Always slapping Goonie. You are the richest piece of crap I have ever met, but I love the content. Keep failing, brother. I feel like that is such a high level Shakespearean, like a Shakespearean level of backhanded comments. You are the richest piece of crap I have ever met, but I love the content. Keep failing, brother. Like, dude, I might need to print that one out and slap it on the wall. Talk about inspiration. That's inspirational right there. that is some inspiration. Oh man. Failing up. It's the story of my life, brother. The story of my life. Alrighty. Here's a look at flow. Mag 7 still getting hit. NASDAQ is going up though. So the NASDAQ and the Mag 7 are going in completely different ways. SPX catching a really nice bid there at 942, a nice higher low in price and in flow. And then looking at the big money positioning, it looks like there's positive gamma. It's a bit deceiving because as soon as you zoom in, bam, it's a jump scare, and you're actually going to realize we're a negative gamma. So you could see that there might be a little bit of a gravitational pull to this positive gamma up here, which would, interestingly enough, pretty much bring us to that classic red to green test. So if the market were to hold this upside gap fill, which we did achieve at 937, if we can actually hold 50, I'm looking for that test of 82, which is not only yesterday's close, but it's obviously because of that, the red to green test. But check this out. If you look at the daily, that's also when we get back above the 50 EMA. So there's a lot between this 850 and 880 level that if the bulls can get above and hold above it, I'd be convinced that they're still in control. But until then, we're kind of stuck in neutral, and then I would actually switch bearish if we get below and close below 6,800. So this is my bearish signal. This is my we're awkwardly in between area, and then above 880, I'd say, okay, the bulls, yeah, they got rocked a little bit, but hey, they got punched in the face, but they're getting up off the map. So if you wanted to make it simple, instead of 880, you could call it 6,900. If you basically, you can make it if you wanted to. As simple as this. If we get above and hold below 6,900, great, awesome. Bulls are fully in control. If we push below and close below 6,800, bears are in control. And until then, it's awkwardly in the middle. I would say the zone is a little bit closer from 840, 850 to 880. That's really the decision zone. But if you just want to make it easy, literally just look at 6,900 and look at 6,800 and wait for one of those two events to happen. I think that would actually be a really, really easy way to handle the current situation. Obviously, my personal opinion, I'm not clairvoyant. Speaking of that, maybe we can find out what's going on today while we're waiting for it. Hang on. My tarot cards are all over the place. Where's my tarot book? How are we going to know what the cards are? So for those of you who do come to the show for 100% accurate fortune-telling position, well, boy, oh boy, do I have a surprise for you. Here, let me shuffle them up. Let's get all the magic in here because we're a little bit away from ripping a few trades. To see what in the world's going to be happening today. We're a little bit away. Don't drop them. I'm going to try not to, but we're doing the shuffle. Let's see. All right, looking away, no cheating. 3, 2, 1. Okay, no looking. We're gonna cut it again. We're really just shuffling it up. We're trying to get all the Harry Potter level magic in here we possibly can. All right, abracadabra, alakazam. A naked cat. We ripped the 7 of Swords today. But more importantly than this is a tatted up cat. This is a jailhouse cat. Dude, 7 of Swords. What could that has to be good. Does that mean we're going into battle? Who's going into battle? Why are they going into battle? That is one pretty dope looking cat, if I must say so myself. Let's see what that's about. It feels like we're going to fight 7 of cat. What was it? 7 of Swords right here. Diplomacy, tact, observation. Understand that a direct approach will fail. It is necessary to present ideas with tact and guile, even if this feels duplicitous. Group dynamics are not productive because you are at odds with the prevailing viewpoint. Step back for now and observe the opposition closely before considering how to best achieve your aims. It sounds like it's saying we need to have patience today. It sounds like we are being directly told from the market gods who do speak to us through my cat tarot card set that today is a day of patience, more so than normal. Yes, most days you're going to say you have to be patient when it comes to the world of trading, but it does feel as if this one's particularly telling us to just chill out, just to chill out. Your stream quality is so good. That's only because my community quality is even better. It is, in fact, you yourself, sir, bringing the quality of this stream to the highest level possible. I do wish my camera, like what you're seeing right here, my ugly face, was a bit higher quality. The stream itself should be 1440 or 4K or whatever it is. It's maxed out. Like my computer's humming right now. We are putting these CPUs and GPUs like to their extent. But I do wish I had. Why is my hair not perfect? That's gonna piss me off. I do wish. Fuck. Maybe I shouldn't have been patient. Maybe I should have ripped it right there. All right, we gotta get ready. We gotta get ready. All right, that's technically not the IB yet because we're not even at 10 a.m., but it did pop. That was a buy. That was a buy. That was a buy. All these were solid buys, and you're already up a good chunk of money. A good chunk of silver's recovering. Google's recovering. All right, people are attempting to buy the dip. Like I said, if this keeps going, you want this recovery of, well, I like it above 50. If it can get above 60, I'm looking at this red to green test somewhere between 82 and 85. It's the start of the transition zone. It is a technical level. It's obviously the red to green level. My eyes are directly going to this as my first major target, if and only if we can hold 50. It's an if statement, IFF. If. And oh yeah, someone in chat just pointed out we are at VWAP. That's a good point. Where's my VWAP one? Okay, there's VWAP. VWAP is the white dash line. So we're just dancing around VWAP at the moment on NQ. But remember, the Cat Tarot told us, it directly told us that we have to have patience. It said it. It means if you don't have patience today, you're going to lose money. We might be getting a little bit knocked there. Mag 7, S&P 500 just took a hit. 5 minute try to go bullish, got smacked. 10 minutes still bearish, 30 minutes still bearish. So watching that 5 minute smack, same thing here. 5 minutes trying to switch trend, 10 minute got smacked. Like maybe this is the start of the transition. Obviously, there's quite a bit of volatility going on right now, but we'll see if this either does or doesn't hold. Let's see. The 1 minute is bullish. That's interesting. The question is, what time is it? It's 9:52. The question is, what is the question? That's the real question, is what is the question? I'm seeing some divergent data even on the intraday. Price is pushing. SPX Mag 7 just got hit. Oops, I did not mean to remove that. How do I undo that? NASDAQ was popping at 950, gave a little bit back here. The question is how are we reacting to VWAP? We're right at the volume weighted average price. Do you think we hold VWAP? Thumbs up or thumbs down for holding VWAP. Chat, my financial health is in your hands. My financial health is in your hands. Do we or do we not hold VWAP? I don't know why I don't have VWAP on the 1 minute, because I'm trading off of the 1 minute chart. So I feel a little silly. Down. You guys are thinking it's breaking down. We have a bunch of naysayers in here today. Interesting. A bunch of negative Nancys. A lot of people thinking that this recovery is not going to happen. Interesting. Lots of negative Nancys today. Maybe you're right. Why does my knee hurt? That has nothing to do with the show, but it is a thought that crossed my mind, so I figured I needed to share it with all of you, which is a very valid question. Why in the world does my knee hurt? Let's get some tendies and tunes music ripping here. Let's add a little bit of ambiance. Folks, if you didn't hear the song from this morning, you're missing out, dude. Chaos is crushing it. Let's get a little bit of tunes popping here.
Yeah. Isaac and Pam I sit out here for a bitch.
Shout out to Chaos. All this music is free on Tendies and Tunes. It is kind of breaking down there. All right, potential rejection at VWAP. I'm watching the 50-minute or the 1 minute 50 EMA. The 50% retracements down here at 807, and we were literally just at 960. Dude, this is some serious range today. This is some serious range today.
Turn ink into gold with a stroke of intention. My pen print money every quote suspension of disbelief. They ain't ready to.
All right, folks, get your coffee. Don't forget the job openings. Is it actually coming out today? It's been stalled out ever since Tuesday. Yeah, this is not looking so good. I'm watching this. Once again, this teal line is the 1 minute. Right here, we're on the 1 minute chart. 50 EMA. I'm curious if it was attempting to go bullish this morning. And also, if you look at this, we're kind of at this potential double bottom. Just a question of are buyers stepping in, or are we about to get Matt SPX call selling, put buying? Wow. Are we gonna snap 800? Golly. Point of control just dropped to 812. VWAP is way higher. Clears. You guys voted that we get smashed at VWAP, and you guys were 100% right. Are we about to take out these players at 800? There are a lot of sitting buyers, and we're just rip them a new ass. Wow. Yeah, that crushed them pretty hard. Right here, they were lined up at 800, and you could see it on Bookmap. It just destroyed them. Destroyed them. A little bit of a reversionary bounce. The question is, will it lead to anything?
Order submit. Order submitted.
Am I trading on the proper accounts? Yes.
Step in the booth, screens glowing lime green, portfolio clean, got that long-term lean, candles hitting highs, shorts getting fried, liquidity splash when that power vibe slide, margin on deck, I'm the broker's best friend, 10 bag of talk when I trend that blend, option chain popping, I'm a premium fiend, gamma squeezing tighter than designer, Jane, keep the charts ringing.
Okay. I think I'm trading on all the proper accounts. Basically, I'm seeing if we actually fail at 800 here.
Move so slick, my R's are legit. FOMO in the chat while I hedge that heat. I'm the spread between the pain and the sweet. Liquidity pools where the sharks all meet. One bad feel and your week's obsolete. But I'm cool smirking at the.
Why is my order line decorator not working over here?
From pre-market coffee to that after hours vibe. Every candle tells a story of the tribe. Bulls push dreams, bears test nerves. We dance on the line of risk and curve. Keep their charts ringing.
Do I want to make it a free trade? I might make it a free trade. I don't know. I'm torn. Do I want to take all risk off the table? Nah, fuck it. Not yet. Not yet, team. Not yet. Should we just go for 100 points? Exactly. Kind of a silly way to do math, but hey, could be fun. Whoa. What? Oh, I guess the Jolt job reports did come out. Are they bringing on our boy Rick Santilli? Come on. Where's our boy Rick? Give us Rick or give us death. Give us Rick or give...
Order filled.
There we go. We locked in the small accounts right there. 1.3K each, 1.2K, whatever the hell it is. We locked it in. All right, is this our boy Rick? Dude, if they don't give us Rick, we've been in a Rick drought for a while.
Thursday morning,
dude, you better give us Rick.
Carl Quintanilla and David Faber. We are live as always from Post 9 of the New York Stock Exchange. Coming up on today's show, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is back on Capitol Hill after fiery exchanges
He's back
with the House of Representatives. Today he's testifying before the Senate Banking Committee.
Hell yeah.
They're live for Q&A. Plus, Alphabet is pulling back this morning despite topping estimates as the volatility in tech builds. We'll talk about whether it's wise to buy the dip. And we'll look at what's going on with Bitcoin as prices spiral below $70,000, lowest level now since 2024. But guys, we got a lot of data on the jobs front as we await the JOLTS report, which was delayed from the government shutdown. A few notable data points.
All right, we're waiting on this one.
There's something going on in the jobs market, which is a little bit weaker, and they all tell that story. Let's start with Challenger.
All right, we're going for a perfect 100 points.
Grain Christmas, they're
we're going for a perfect 100 points.
And it was a high number.
We're going for a perfect 100. Bada bing, bada boom.
Imagination that we've been hearing from a lot of companies that are laying off workers.
Who else is doing that? Name one other person doing what we are doing day in and day out. I call out the trade. I execute the trade. It's all live in front of you. 2K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's 26,000. And then we have 1.31. I had to stop these just because of certain like consistency rules. 1.3 times 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 6.5. So 6.5 plus another 26. So 32K. We're done. 30 G's locked in, 32, 30 and change. You know, we're going to round down so we could be a little bit more humble on this show. All done live, dude. We're not fucking screenshotting it. We're not refunding these accounts. Like, dude, it's all done live. Look at that. Damn near bottom ticket, and we move on with our life, dude. This shit's so easy, dude. It's I can read these charts better than I can read a book. And you might be arguing, but Matt, that's because you have dyslexia and you don't know how to read a book. And to that, I would say you're not wrong, but that's not the point of the statement. The point of the statement is that I'm good at reading charts. So you might be right to point out, but Matt, you don't even know how to read. Yeah, you're right on that. Like, that's a very fair attack on me. But are you on a prop firm or a margin account? Those were prop firms. Read them charts, Matt. Dude, you crazy boy. Dude, imagine if I traded that all. I could have traded it on the big accounts. That one exact trade, I could have had another 30K. I could have pumped all these bad boys up. That might not be the best psychology, though. Man, that would have been a good trade. I could have just copy traded it to all of these. I could have copy traded it to every single one. I think I'm allowed to make more money on, I think I could go up to 4.5, right? Because it's a 50% one or something like that, or 40%. I think I'm allowed to go up to 4K. I don't necessarily have to. We can go for another 100 points. We can definitely go for another 100 points if we want. Matt reads candles, not words. Exactly. On TPT, what's it on Lucid? Does anyone know the consistency rule on Lucid off the top of their mind? I get these all confused because they're like, there's just so many of them to know. Apex, I could do whatever I want because they're funded. Take profit. I could go up to 50%. What Lucid is also 50%? Lucid, no consistency on Flex. But what about Lucid? So, Lucid Flex funded and evals are different? Okay, I appreciate that. Anyway, thus far, we're looking pretty good. So I am not trading, just to show you guys, I'm not trading on the 15 accounts. I know I'm running out of room. So these 15 accounts, I'm just not touching because I need to decide if I want to take the $1 million or not. And then for these accounts, obviously, I've done one trade today, took a nice 100 points out of the big ones, took a nice, 65 out of the smaller ones. These are the smaller ones. These are the bigger ones. And we're letting her rock. We're letting her rock. They never brought on our boy. Where's our boy Rick? Dude, are they... I'm about to have a Rick revolt here. A legitimate, full-on Rick revolt. All right, are we... we are starting. Shh. All right, dude, they were screaming at each other yesterday. I'm stoked.
Decisions about work, housing, and opportunity. Secretary Bessent, as you pointed out in your FSOC's 2025 report, economic growth and economic security are critical to financial stability. As a fellow Charlestonian, fellow South Carolinian, you understand firsthand how economic growth, population growth, and opportunity intersect at the community level. FSOC was created to identify and respond to systemic risk. But for far too long, FSOC has focused on a climate agenda that damaged financial stability and, as you pointed out, Secretary Bessent, treated nearly every single sector of the economy, financial market, and major financial institution as a potential financial stability vulnerability. Under your leadership, FSOC has rightly recognized that long-term economic growth and economic security are core components of financial stability. A system that slows growth, limits opportunity, or prices families out of basic financial services is not a stable system. It's a fragile one. Thank you for refocusing FSOC on household balance sheets and household financial resilience. When families have savings, access to affordable credit, and confidence in their financial future, they are better equipped to weather storms, weather economic shocks, and the system becomes more resilient. Strong households also strengthen local communities, and strong communities contribute to a more resilient national economy. That's why I'm interested on how FSOC balances systemic risk and its oversight with the need of economic growth, innovation, and affordability. Reassessing bank regulatory and supervisory frameworks to remove undue burdens isn't about weakening safeguards. It's about making sure the financial system works as intended for the people.
You're gosh darn right.
Coordination matters too.
Give us Rick or
Businesses
give us
should not be caught in the crossfire of conflicting rules, duplicative supervision, or regulatory whiplash.
Mag 7's
when regulators fail to coordinate, the consequences don't stay in
potentially
Washington.
Bottoming
they show up in higher costs,
right
fewer
at
choices,
800,
and less access at the kitchen table. Finally, I want to recognize Treasury's work implementing the Genius Act. This framework has the potential to expand dollar dominance, increase global demand for dollar-dominated assets like U.S. Treasuries, reduce systemic risk, and support economic growth and innovation. At the end of the day, affordability, growth, and financial stability must move forward together. For families and small businesses across the country, including back home in South Carolina, that means an economy that is growing, a financial system that is resilient, and policies that
I hope
keep
they start yelling at
opportunity
each other
within
again. That was the
reach.
best part of yesterday.
I am confident that our economy will continue to grow and our financial system will remain resilient. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here, and I look forward to your testimony. Ranking Member Warren, you're now recognized for your opening
Warren,
Thank
this
you,
is going to
Mr.
get
Chairman.
good right here.
Secretary Bessent, as one of President Trump's top economic advisors, you have a lot to answer for. Donald Trump campaigned on lowering costs on day one. Those were his words, over and over. But 381 days into his term, Trump's economic policies have driven prices up. Grocery prices are up, electricity prices are up, healthcare prices
that
are
true?
up. The cost of building housing is up. President Trump's economic agenda is failing families, but boy, it is working great for Wall Street and Trump's billionaire buddies. There have been massive tax cuts for billionaires. Big bank supervision has been cut to the bone, and sidelining the cops who go after white-collar crime. Meanwhile, middle-class families get the short end of the stick. Unemployment is growing and prices are up. But American families can't even get the basic respect of a straight answer.
According to
Team
Trueflation,
the president
we're at
lies about
1%,
prices being lower
not the government's
when every family who's
2.7.
walked into a grocery store knows that prices are up. Secretary Bessent tells workers that the Trump administration has created a blue-collar boom, while Donald Trump's own Labor Department reports that manufacturing jobs are down by 71,000 since Trump took office. But American families aren't fooled. When Secretary Bessent and President Trump try to tell them that the sky is not blue and that water is not wet, hardworking people know in their pocketbooks just how big those lies are. They also know that Trump and his team don't have any plans to fix what is broken. Secretary Bessent is here today in his role as chair of the Financial Stability Oversight Council. Congress created FSOC after the 2008 financial crash to protect families from large financial institutions that load up on debt and then turn around and crash our economy. Secretary Bessent could have used FSOC over the last year to tighten regulations so that we don't face more bank failures like the Silicon Valley Bank or First Republic Bank that crashed less than 3 years ago. Instead, he has helped to get rid of the guardrails so that banks can load up on even more risk. He's boosted profitability for giant banks and pay for CEOs while making it more likely that all of this ends in yet another taxpayer bailout. And what has he done for consumers? Secretary Bessent tried to shut down the Consumer
right at this
Financial
key
Protection
level of
Bureau,
6,800.
the agency that has returned more than $21 billion directly to Americans
This
cheated
might
by
be a
big
bounce
banks
point, or it
and
might be
giant
a vomit point.
corporations. He's effectively told the banks
We
they can
also
cheat as
have
many people
spot
as they
game implied
want,
one-day move
and
low at
he and Donald
67.90.
Trump will
So
look
I'm
the
watching
other
this
way.
zone right here. It
But
is
it's not
negative
just about
gamma.
rolling back safeguards. Secretary Bessent is ignoring emergence risks in the economy. The private credit market
All of momentum
looks
is bearish.
like a ticking time bomb.
Dude, she doesn't know
Late last
shit
year,
about private
Moody's
credit.
found that banks had $300 billion of exposure and that the risk posed by these shadowy holdings is growing. And as Jamie Dimon said, quote, "When you see one cockroach, there are probably more." But Secretary Bessent and FSOC
Might
have
be
their
cracking,
eyes shut tight
but
and
once
have
again,
decided
big gamma
they don't
level
see
here
any
at
cockroaches
790.
at all.
We're
Here's
coming
all
right
you need
up
to
to
know
it.
about what's happening under President Trump's
Right
and Secretary
here.
Bessent's watch.
We're cutting through this
Middle-class
positive
families
gamma.
are paying higher prices for just about everything.
Right here,
while it
positive
becomes
gamma,
harder
there's negative.
and harder
That might be the
to get a
profit
raise
target.
or find a job. Meanwhile, Wall Street
Patience.
CEOs are getting the kid glove treatment as Trump policies may be edging the economy closer and closer to
So
another
instead Bitcoin's getting
disastrous
cracked?
financial crash. Now, President Trump is so
Oh, wow.
busy raking in
Bitcoin's
cash
getting
from foreign governments
murdered.
and
Holy
building his
shit.
gold-encrusted ballroom that he's completely out of touch with how his economy is making life
Holy
harder
shit.
for millions of Americans. We are only 1 year into Donald Trump's second term. And if Trump and Bessent don't wake up and change course quickly, the economy may keep delivering for billionaires, but it's going to get even worse for American families. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's always so interesting when, like, rich people
Secretary Bessent?
lecture us on the concept of how bad it is to be a rich person. Like,
Chairman Scott, Ranking
She's a
Member
lot closer
Warren,
to
and
billionaires
members
than
of the
we
committee.
are.
Thank you for inviting me to discuss the Financial Stability Oversight Council's 2025 annual report. This report is a culmination of extensive collaboration among FSOC members I'd like to thank them for their
Wow.
hard work and dedication in
951
advancing
hit.
the president's bold vision for a better America. Since day one, President Trump has focused on building parallel prosperity, an era of economic expansion where Wall Street
cracking.
and Main Street grow together. To that end, Treasury has tirelessly pursued pro-growth policies to unlock the potential available to all Americans when they are free to save, invest, build businesses, and drive their own economic destinies. The Financial Stability Oversight Council plays an important role in delivering on this agenda. Too often in the past, we have seen regulation by reflex. Rather than
Mag 7's
preempting
going
crises,
flat,
regulators
SPY's
have
getting
frequently
clocked.
reacted to them after
It's a
the fact. They
longer
played the role of
duration
hazmat
put
cleanup
buying
team
is what's
instead
happening.
of preventing dangerous spillovers. in the
Calls are
first place.
flat.
Regulation by reflex has led to a regulatory myopia that has undermined safety and soundness. Under President Biden, the bank regulators preoccupied themselves with reputation risk, now discredited climate-related financial risk, and other risk, with no clear nexus to safety and soundness. At the same time, they centered supervision on management and other governance matters that distracted examiners and banks' risk managers from the real risk to safety and soundness. The result, predictably, was the second, third, and fourth largest bank failures in U.S. history under his administration.
There we go.
Besides
Right back above
undermining safety
800.
and soundness,
This is
regulation
why-
by reflex
this
has driven
is why you have to be
excessive
careful in
regulation.
these levels.
That can lead to economic stagnation, and economic stagnation is itself a threat to financial stability. In calibrating regulations, federal agencies must avoid the temptation to create a zero-risk financial system, which would
That
result
might be
in what
the low of
others
the
have
day
called
right
the
there.
stability of the graveyard. FSOC should aim to identify vulnerabilities
Time
that
will
could
tell,
lead to
but look at
systemic crises
spike in
and encourage
options.
the private sector to mitigate those risks.
Puts were
before
closed out,
recommending
and calls
additional
started to get
regulation.
bought right there at
FSOC
10:15.
should also work with its members to support
I don't know if it's
efforts
going to
to
hold,
avoid
but
or
this
pare
is
back
an
existing
interesting
regulation
potential change
that
to trying to
stifles
watch.
pro-growth lending, capital formation, and innovation. And the best way to achieve
Obviously,
these goals is by
SPX needs to
centering
hold
economic growth
6,800.
and economic security at the heart of FSOC's agenda. Promoting economic growth and economic security is essential to ensuring financial stability. Economic growth strengthens households, business, and financial institution balance sheets, creating capital
Order
buffers
filled.
that reduce the risk of default.
I'm gonna
and
attempt
financial
along here,
stress. And
tight
economic
risk.
security reinforces domestic production capacity, raising living standards, while reducing vulnerability to external shocks and supply chain disruptions. FSOC's annual report prioritizes economic growth and economic security accordingly, with a specific focus on our four policy areas: Treasury markets, cybersecurity, regulatory
What is this
modernization,
feedback?
and
It's
AI.
annoying.
First, the Council is ensuring that the U.S. Treasury market remains the deepest and most liquid in the world. The Council is supporting efforts by member
I might get
agencies
knocked
to
out on
strengthen this
that.
market against future shocks.
I'm
including
trying a
through
shot
the
on
Interagency
this
Working
pop
Group
here.
on Treasury Market Surveillance,
Seeing if I
and
can
the
catch a
Market
falling knife.
Resilience
Tight
Working
risk.
Group. Ongoing monitoring and targeted reforms by individual agencies remain essential to financial stability. Second, the Council is taking action to protect our financial system from increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks. Nation-state actors and criminal groups continue to target our financial institutions and critical infrastructure. To address this risk, the Council is supporting expanded information sharing, joint monitoring, and scenario-based exercises, and it is emphasizing
Once
the
again,
need
I
for
took a
regulated
long
firms to
just in
manage
case we
cyber
flip
risks
here
tied
and
to
bounce off of
third-party
800.
service
But if I'm
providers.
wrong, it's minimal risk.
Third,
There we go.
The
They fixed
Council
it.
is committed to supporting efforts
Look at that
to
potential
modernize
return
supervisory
versus
and
the
regulatory
potential risk.
frameworks for
I
banks
love the
and
risk
credit
reward.
unions.
50-50
Going
shot,
forward,
I'm right or
regulation
wrong.
and supervision
Order filled.
should
And I'm
address
wrong.
material risk, enhance
For now.
transparency,
Dude, fix the fucking feedback.
and reduce unnecessary burdens, particularly for community banks. Fourth, the Council is prioritizing the responsible use of artificial intelligence to strengthen financial stability. The Council is working with public and private sector partners, including international counterparts, to enhance system resilience while closely monitoring emerging risk. I will close by highlighting our progress in enhancing the utility of our annual report.
Order
In this year's
submitted.
report, FSOC shifted away from its past approach where nearly every major market and financial sector was described as a financial stability vulnerability. By introducing a new structure centered on fostering economic growth and security, we are tuning out the white noise to concentrate on the issues that matter most for U.S. financial stability. With this
Order
overview,
submitted.
I look forward to taking your questions.
Hell yeah. Take our
Thank you,
questions.
Secretary. And to all the members, we have essentially full attendance, and it looks like everyone wants to ask a question, so I will be pretty consistent on calling us to
No
5
position
minutes.
right now. I got
Just wanna
knocked
make
out
sure
of
that
that
you guys
long.
have a
We
little
literally
time to
wicked out
prepare
at
for
the
that.
bottom there at 6:05.
Just so long as it's everybody else.
Well, of course, yes. We'll work on that.
Okay.
Secretary, I'd love to give you a couple minutes to respond to some of the things the ranking member said, starting with the fact that 2 of the 3 largest bank failures in American history happened under President Biden, not President Trump.
Whoa.
Correct?
Whoa.
Correct.
Number 2, under President Biden, we saw devastation
Going a
in
little flat.
household
We just need to
after
decide which way
household
we wanna break.
After household. He dug
way is it
a
gonna
big
go?
hole where the average family was losing at the end of his term over $1,000 a month in spending power.
I guess we're not holding 800.
Accurate?
I would say workers suffered under policies championed by the Biden-Warren economy.
And President Trump has had to fill that hole. As a matter of fact, we've seen some of the strongest GDP growth that we've seen in decades.
We've seen strong GDP growth in spite of many, but not all, of the members on the right,
Maybe a higher low
my
forming
right
right
side
here?
of the room,
Let's see
voting
if
for
we
the
can keep
longest
pushing.
government shutdown in history. Despite that,
game gets
we have
interesting
seen
if we could take out
extremely strong
806.
economic growth.
In my
If you look
opinion.
at the success, and this doesn't get a lot of attention, but let's make sure that it gets more today. If you look at the success of the Working Families Tax Cut bill, for those folks in blue-collar America, for the folks who are working every single day, sometimes 2 jobs, trying to make sure that their ends meet, when they look at sitting down at the kitchen table, wondering if anyone is paying attention in Washington to the suffering and the challenges around the country in their household, the answer today is absolutely, positively, unequivocally yes. We know that because in the Working Families Tax Cut bill, we saw tips. If you earn tips in America, your taxes went down significantly. Is that an accurate statement?
Order submitted.
Yes, sir.
I just got knocked
no tax
long
on
again.
tips,
Order
no tax on
submitted.
overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars, and every Democrat voted against that and in favor of the largest tax hike in history.
Now, on top of that, because we understand that raising children have never been more expensive, and frankly, if you looked at the attempt of my friends on the left on
That
child
popped
care,
back above 800
some of their
knocked me
proposals
long
would have taken
again.
child care from average of $15,300 to $29,000 in some of the estimates given by their bill that they wanted to get passed under President Biden. We actually increased the child tax credit to $2,200.
Silver's getting
$2,200.
destroyed ever since
$2,200.
952.
$2,200.
Bitcoin's
So
getting destroyed.
when you compare the 2 economies and compare the 2 levels of leadership that we're seeing in great contrast, back-to-back leadership, there's no question that if you're looking for someone focusing on working class Americans, undeniably, that would be the Trump economy and the Trump administration.
Mr. Chairman, during Joe Biden's tenure, CPI was 4.7% on an annualized basis. Cumulative CPI was 21.5%.
Wow.
There was a loss
Not that I
of real
trust
purchasing
CPI,
power
but
for
still.
working families. Thus far, we've seen an increase in real wages. CPI for 2025 was 2.7%, and we have seen it fall for the past 3 months to 2.1. And there is an index called Trueflation, which is
Hey, we were just
observed
looking at
inflation, not measured inflation, which comes with a lag, that just fell below 1%.
Wow.
It's at 1%
I only have
right
a minute
now.
left. I'm holding everyone to the same standard, including myself. So here's my probably not my last question, but I'm getting close to the end. When inflation in 2021 hit 9%, bad or good for the American economy?
Terrible. Terrible for the American economy, terrible for the American people.
Number two, when President Trump has been able to keep inflation under 3%, still heading towards our goal of 2%, much, much better for our economy. And as a result, interest rates have been able to come down consistently.
Yes, we've seen the
Double bottom
interest rates
bounce
come
or
down
crack,
this year,
we're going to be finding
and
out
the
very,
10-year
very
U.S.
soon.
Treasury had its best year
Might
since
be a higher
2020,
low.
when the bond markets and our G7 colleagues actually had rate hikes. We had rate decreases.
I only have 10 seconds. At the end of the day, home ownership and affordability is more likely now in the Trump economy than it ever would have been under the Biden economy. Ranking member?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for a solid year while he ran for president, Donald Trump promised pretty much every day that he was going to lower costs on day one, if he was elected. Those were his words, not mine. So Secretary Bessent, you are one of the president's top economic advisors. Let's just start with a little truth-telling about the Trump economy 1 year in. Affordability is the top concern for Americans across the country. Donald Trump has called affordability, I want to get this right, a hoax. He's called it a scam. He's called it a con job. You're the Secretary of Treasury. You know the numbers. Is affordability a hoax, a scam, or a con job?
Senator, it may be a bit nuanced for you, but what President Trump is referring to is the media saying that the affordability crisis was generated by this administration when it was you and President Biden who destroyed the buying power of the American people. So there is an affordability crisis, and you were front and center in it.
So let me make sure that I understand. Donald
Mag
Trump
7
is
trending
not
up
saying
slightly,
that
SPY
affordability,
flat.
what's happening to families right now, is a hoax?
He is
Price
saying that
tried
trying
to
to lay
get
the
going,
blame
and it
on
got
this
brutally
administration
smashed.
rather than the Biden-Warren economy
So-
is a hoax.
Okay, so it all happened before he got it. And everything that's happened since then, nothing is a hoax here.
21.5% cumulative inflation.
Let me just ask about what's happened in the 1 year that Donald Trump has been president. Last week, President Trump said, quote, "We have the groceries going down." Did grocery prices drop in 2025?
Numerous prices have.
Did grocery prices drop in
The
2025?
numerous grocery prices have gone down.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you can't hear me. Did grocery prices drop
Feels
in
like he's saying
2025?
yes.
Numerous grocery prices have gone down.
Some of them.
And in
So do
fact,
you- have you
we have seen
seen-
inflation at
Please stop.
2.1% for the past 3
Have
months.
you seen the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is Donald Trump's own Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, that report
Order submitted.
that grocery prices were 2.4% higher at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024? Trump's own Department of Agriculture has projected that those prices would climb higher in 2026. And under Donald Trump, families are paying more and more for groceries. So if you're just going to insult people by denying the facts that are out there and tell people they're doing
Order
great
filled.
when they're struggling, I think that's just another way to say you don't have a plan to bring down these prices. You're not willing to admit the failures
prices are
of the
indeed
Trump
falling,
administration.
Senator.
I will ask you a question in just a sec here. It's not just groceries. The numbers from Trump's own economic agency show that Americans are paying more for utility bills, more for health care, more for housing construction. Families aren't fooled by these lies. Mr. Secretary, you owe it to American families to own up what's going on. And Secretary Bessent, I have one more question for you while I have you here. You ran the search for Donald Trump's Fed chair nominee. And Trump promised, quote, "Anyone that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." Kevin Warsh got the nod last Friday. And then over the weekend, Donald Trump joked that he would sue Mr. Warsh if he failed to lower interest rates. At least I think it was a joke. But just in case, this should be an easy one, Mr. Secretary. Can you commit right here and now that Trump's Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, will not be sued, will not be investigated by the Department of Justice if he doesn't cut interest rates exactly the way that Donald Trump wants?
That is up to the president. Can you commit that you will?
I'm sorry.
Can you commit that you will not hold
he won't
up?
be sued if he doesn't drop interest rates?
Can you?
And he won't be criminally investigated?
The president also made a joke about you that I won't repeat, Senator Warren.
That was the
Oh, actually,
easy
I will.
one.
He said he had reservations.
You know, if this was a
But
joke,
the-
why not just say so?
It was a
can't
joke,
commit-
and he made a joke about you too, Senator Warren.
Yes,
got
he
a
did.
lot of laughs. Got a
Yeah.
lot of laughs.
Yeah.
So
A
I don't know
lot
if
of
you want to
laughs.
respond
You know,
to that.
I do
But
want to
what
respond.
can't
I don't
tell you
think
to
the American
is
people
Mr.
are
Warsh
laughing.
is highly qualified.
the ones who are
and
struggling
why
with
don't you
affordability.
Why don't you tell the nation what you told me, that you held up Chair Powell's
Secretary,
renomination?
We're going to move on to the next one. Senator Rounds, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, first of all, thanks for being here and for your service to our nation. I'm going to come back in and talk a little bit on the technical side for just a minute. The FSOC's 2025 annual report recommends that its member agencies use the Council's Artificial Intelligence Working Group to identify regulatory impediments to the
Order
responsible
submitted.
adoption of AI by financial institutions. From your perspective, what are the biggest impediments today that prevent banks from adopting AI responsibly, especially for compliance, fraud detection, and risk management?
Well, as you know, AI is an exciting and new technology, and there's a great amount of learning to do here. So FSOC, Treasury, the regulatory agencies are working with our private partners to implement in a gradual way robust usage of AI. AI can be a great tool, but AI,
I'm trying to
we have
build up a
also
short
think that
position here.
AI can be a risk through state and non-state actors. So it is a
Short
public-private
NQ, that
partnership,
is.
and we are pushing very hard across the agencies and at Treasury.
FSOC's report also recognizes that overly complex and subjective supervision, like reliance on vague concepts such as reputational risk, as you mentioned in your opening statement, restricts valuable activities. Given FSOC's push for clearer standards and responsible AI adoption, would a time-limited AI sandbox for financial institutions with clear guardrails help firms test AI tools in a controlled setting while regulators evaluate risks and benefits?
Senator, that is clearly the one very interesting option, and we are considering that moving forward. We'd be happy to work with your staff on that.
I feel very passionate about that part of it. I would look forward to working with your team as well, sir. I'm also just curious. We've talked now, and the discussion will go on and on about how we build the economy and so forth. But I think just for the American public, since they probably don't get an opportunity to just have a back and forth with the Secretary of the Treasury very often, let's talk a little bit about how we really reduce the price of getting a home for an American family. I think a lot of it has to do with bringing down the interest rates that charge in the 30-year mortgage. Can you share with us a little bit, we talked about treasuries and you mentioned that the rate of treasuries, the cost of treasuries is coming down. Can you share a little bit about what it takes to bring down the price of treasuries with regard to the growth of GDP? And when treasury rates come down, what that does for an average American home buyer who's
Order
looking at a
submitted.
30-year mortgage?
Well, I'd be glad to, Senator, because President Trump is focused on Main Street and not Harvard Square. A mortgage
Harvard
rate is two
Square.
components. We could say that it is a derivative of the 10-year, but it's really a 7.5-year. And we have seen that decline. And then it is the spread between the 10-year bond and the actual mortgage
filled.
security. And we have seen that is at multi-year lows.
Got stopped at
what
a
we
1 for
saw
break
in
even right
January
there. But I
was
still
the
have
lowest
some
mortgage
short
rates
on
in
NQ.
almost 3 years.
We've got $37 trillion in debt. A lot of the folks back out there saying if you've got that much debt and you're paying interest
Order
on it,
submitted.
that competes with folks that want to loan you money on a mortgage. Can you talk about what it means to build GDP and how someone who is looking at laying out bonds and so forth as you build GDP, what that does and how that impacts a homeowner?
Well, yes, because two things, sir. We brought down the fiscal deficit for the calendar year. So from 2024 to 2025, at 2024, the deficit to GDP, which is a very important number, was 6.97%, highest when we weren't at war or in a recession. We brought it down to 5.4. That was a combination of the holding spending and growing the economy. And as we continue to do that, interest rates
looks like
will
I'm gonna
naturally
get knocked on
decline,
these.
and it pushes the out inflation. What we could see from an
Getting
MIT
close.
study was that the Democrats' spending was responsible for almost half of the great inflation. The overspending, according
maybe I'll
to
get
MIT,
lucky.
was responsible for that and penalized American homeowners. So by controlling the budget, growing,
I'm going to
and
update my risk on that.
in a responsible way, we will bring down mortgage rates. And I would say that building costs are now down in the year.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr.
Once again,
Chairman.
I am
Mr.
short on
Secretary, the
NQ,
President
and I'm just trying to
announced
keep my
on
risk
January 9th, in his
updated.
words, quote, effective January 20th, 2026, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. In remarks at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the President further said,
Davos.
quote, the profit margin for credit card companies now exceeds 50%. He also indicated that Americans are paying 28, 30% interest rates. You were one of his top economic advisors, Mr. Secretary. Do you support interest rate caps to improve affordability on credit?
I wholeheartedly support President Trump's policy, and I think that what you've just said would be in direct contrast to what Senator Warren said about this administration favoring the big banks. But those are facts.
Well, I don't
Those
think my
are-
statement indicates at all what Senator Warren said or meant. I wanted an answer. You gave me one. But let's look at the current situation. We already have legislation that protects service members by putting a 36% cap, not just on credit cards, but all credit relationships, and it protects them
Some
from
extra
being
volumes hitting the
exploited.
tape right
And
now.
As in my youth, I was a company commander and saw it firsthand. Would it make sense as a first step to provide a 36% interest rate for all Americans, not just service members?
36% doesn't seem like much protection to me, Senator.
Order, Phil.
Well, it's better
Closed
than
out,
some of the things
risk
that are
hit
being
of the short.
presented to service members without the rates. These new plans to buy commodities, and sometimes the rates go to 500, and still today, you have entrepreneurs who are charging extraordinary rates, and particularly to vulnerable populations, which I know they don't congregate at Harvard Square, but they
Order,
also
Bill.
don't hang out in New Haven either.
All right,
So,
closed it all out.
I think that would
risk
be a
hit.
sound step, Mr. Secretary.
Senator, you haven't seen all of New Haven.
I haven't, but I've seen a lot of it, the parts that you might have missed. The situation at Fannie and Freddie is significant. We have significant federal interest financially in Fannie and Freddie. But under the director, Mr. Pulte, these taxpayer-owned assets are no longer in compliance with the law or with stock exchange listing standards. Pulte has appointed himself as director of both boards, even though the law says, quote, the director may not hold any office position or employment in Fannie or Freddie. A majority of the Fannie board has not been determined to be independent. The audit committee is no longer comprised entirely of independent members. And the the governance has been sacked by political affiliates. These all are prohibited by law and regulation. So how will you bring them into compliance, Mr. Secretary?
That
Pulte
would
is
be
such an asshole.
FA, not Treasury.
Excuse me.
Potential pop here.
You are one of the largest, or the taxpayers are. You provided them, Treasury did, not you personally.
Back to 6,800. This is an interesting test. We took out 94
in 2008. You have no interest in Fannie and Freddie?
I'm very interested in Fannie and Freddie, and I'm interested in fulfilling the mission to the American people to keep mortgage rates low.
What about following the laws?
So
Nah, fuck
again,
the laws.
You should ask Director Pulte. I do not see I don't
Percent
think this
hates Pulte. They
creates
do
a-
not
Well,
get
All
along.
right, you have nothing to do with Fannie and Freddie. Director Pulte has said that you and him are, quote, very aligned, and we meet regularly about the conservatorship. By the way, it's in conservatorship because of Secretary Paulson, your predecessor. According to Fannie and Freddie's annual reports, the companies, quote, continue to rely on financial support from Treasury pursuant to our senior preferred stock purchase agreement, under which taxpayers own 1 million preferred shares on a warrant to purchase up to 80% of their shares. Treasury staff manages those shares and warrants for the taxpayers. Your predecessor, Hank Paulson, placed these companies into conservatorship. So you have the premise or the power to place Fannie and Freddie into conservatorship. I would think that that gives you a little bit of leverage talking to
There we go.
Mr. Pulte about why he's
Potential
not on
failure
board.
here.
You're reneging on responsibilities, Mr. Secretary. And you're also, having been the senior person here, your behavior to some of my colleagues is absolutely childish. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Good to see him.
Senator Kennedy.
I love how sassy this dude is.
Hello, Mr. Secretary. I'm over here. How are you?
Good.
Mr. Secretary, as you're also head of the IRS, we've had some tough ice storms. Would you and your colleagues consider an extension on allowing extension to allow people to file taxes a little bit later?
Senator, I've been in touch with the governor of the great state of Louisiana, and he and I my staff are working on that. It is traditional to grant
Right.
extensions for events like this.
Good. If Canada came to the United States, well, let me preface this by saying I understand that tariffs have a number of purposes, but the foremost reason for tariffs is to try to stop other countries from taking advantage of us through either their tariffs or trade barriers. If Canada, for example, came to the United States and said, we're going to zero tariffs in the United States. All of them are off on our end. Would you, Mr. President, speaking to our president, go to zero tariffs and then just let Canadian companies and American companies compete on a level playing field?
Absolutely not. As we saw last week, 2 weeks ago, when Prime Minister Carney went to China, he lowered tariffs on Chinese EVs from 100% to 6%. U.S. has a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. We couldn't let our northern border be used as a way for Chinese EVs to come into the U.S.
Right, okay. I'm going to lead you a little bit because Senator Scott is a she-bear when it comes to time. The poverty rate, according to the Census Bureau, is 11%, isn't it, in America?
I'll take your word, Senator.
And that's the Census Bureau defines poverty, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that the Census Bureau, in defining
Max 7
poverty,
is flat. Spy's
and
starting to
determining
pick
that
up,
our
folks.
poverty
Double
rate
bottom
is
alert here at 10:30.
or 36 million Americans, which makes us look bad, only will consider direct cash payments from the federal government to poor people, such as, let's say, SSI payments or TANF payments.
Correct.
Okay? And isn't it true that the Census Bureau, in determining poverty, doesn't include non-cash payments? It doesn't include Medicaid or food stamps or housing subsidies or refundable tax credits. Isn't that true?
That is correct, Senator.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. Mom, 2 kids, poverty level for her and her kids is $27,000. Mom works part-time. She makes $11,000. According to our Census Bureau, she's poor. She's below the poverty line. But she also receives, she works, I recall I said, makes $11,000 a year. She receives $4,100 in refundable earned income
Silver's
tax
getting
credits,
destroyed.
$3,400 in refundable child tax credits, which means she gets a check, $9,200 in food stamps, $9,500 in
Is
housing
anyone else having
subsidies,
connection issues? I keep
$900 in
losing my
utility bill
data. Is
subsidies,
Tradevate down again?
$16,000
Or is
in
it a
Medicaid,
personal issue of
$31,000 a
mine?
year in free school lunches, and $6,000 in TANF payments. If you add that up, that's $64,100 a year, according to math.
I'll believe your
According to
arithmetic,
math.
Senator.
My rhythmic is working.
But using the Census Bureau's definition of poor, they don't include all these payments. They just include her income and the TANF payment. Does that make sense to you?
No, sir, and you should bring that up with the Commerce Department.
I know, but you've got influence. I know how close you and the Commerce Secretary are.
I'm trying to disconnect and reconnect. I'm having it might be
above.
The
personal on
president
my
says
side.
we're opposites, and I'm tall.
I'm not going to comment on that. Would you talk to the president about this? If you include all cash and non-cash payments, the poverty rate in America is 1%.
That's a good point to end on.
Thank you,
I
Senator.
told you he was a she-bear.
I'm not quite sure for this. Senator Moreno, you and I will talk about the she-bear later. Let's go on to Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I think you would agree that the credibility of the Secretary of the Treasury is important, and I want to give you a chance to retract a statement that you made on national TV.
I doubt it.
Alex Preddy was shot 10 times and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis.
Where are we going with this one?
The administration, some in the administration called him a, quote, domestic terrorist. You suggested that Alex Preddy was culpable in his own killing because he had a gun in his waistband holster, which he was licensed to carry. When asked, you said, quote, I'm sorry this gentleman is dead, but, and you went on to say he had a weapon, suggesting that he was culpable in his own killing. So, Mr. Secretary, today, would you like to retract that statement?
I would not. And would you like to express remorse over the death of Ashley Babbitt here in the Capitol?
Oh, I have expressed remorse over that. So I've done that, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, please don't. So you think I have other questions, but I actually would have expected you to take this opportunity to rephrase your response to that question. So you think the fact that he legally had a gun justified his killing?
I didn't say that at all.
You said, do you think he was culpable, partly to blame in his own killing because he had a gun?
They did not say that.
I'm asking you a question now. Do you believe he was in any way culpable for his own killing because he legally carried a gun?
Again, this is an FSOC hearing.
Yeah.
So,
but you're the Secretary of the Treasury.
Why don't we talk about financial stability and oversight?
I'm happy to, Mr. Secretary, but your credibility is important. And in that response,
But how do those connect?
you really, I think, let down the country because we expect honesty after that kind of terrible tragedy. Let me ask you about FSOC. I'm glad that you've all established a household resilience committee because people are being financially squeezed from every side. And I've got a whole bunch of quotes here from candidate Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Starting the day I take office, I will rapidly drive down prices and we will make America affordable again. It's interesting he used that phrase since he's been making fun of the affordability phrase recently. But I listened to your exchange with Senator Warren, and the facts show very clearly that inflation has not been eliminated, has it?
Well,
right?
It is undesirable to completely eliminate inflation. What is desirable is to get back to the Fed's 2% target. And for the past 3 months, we've been at 2.1%.
Yeah, because of counterparty
Senator.
risk.
Yeah. No,
So
but
the
Deflation isn't
21.5%
good
under
either.
the Biden administration
Look, Mr. I know how you're playing games. You're doing the aggregate over the Biden administration. The last few months,
and you are
the number 2.7 is your own number for last year, the year of the Trump administration. So let me ask you,
and you're being a deconstructionist and saying day one.
And great. Well, I'm just reading the president's own statements.
Dude, I love how
I'm glad you all
sassy
have the
this guy
same
is.
talking
Chairman, I
points.
ask unanimous
They
consent.
do
that
have
the
all the
statements
same
be placed in
talking
the record.
points.
Without objection.
All right. Look, Mr. Secretary, you used to believe that tariffs would increase inflation and prices. Isn't that true?
I wrote that in a letter to my investors, but a year before, I also wrote that I thought Senator Warren would be the Democratic presidential nominee.
Okay. But
So
Mr. Secretary,
my
please.
predictions
Dude,
have been
the
bad.
sass.
Please.
Have been bad.
Okay.
The sass in
Secretary,
this
it was
is
January 2024.
insane.
You said that increased tariffs would raise prices.
No,
right?
I said they could, and I also said it would strengthen the dollar, and the opposite has happened.
Yeah.
The
So-
prices have not gone up due to 150 years of data from the San Francisco Fed.
Mr. Secretary, you're cherry picking. You're cherry
Order
picking
filled.
numbers.
As
It
a-
is a
as
me
fact
reconnecting.
that
I didn't trade.
prices continue to go up.
and
I
that-
understand
that is
Mr.
desirable over the long term.
I understand that you said just at this hearing that building costs are down. I just want to point out for the record that the National Association of Home Builders said on January 29th, not very long ago, that costs are up. Construction costs account for about 65% of average home prices in 2024. And they say, and I'm quoting, record high for construction costs since the inception of the series in 1998. Not the Biden administration, 1998. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
a 2024 number?
Senator Haggerty?
This is a number from the home builders. I'm
I
happy to share.
still am having
Thank
weird
you.
data issues.
Senator Haggerty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Besson, it's always great to have you here.
Order
Good to see
filled.
you, Senator.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't
I'm
get
just
someone
connecting and
complimenting
disconnecting.
on the great work that you and your team are doing at the Department of Treasury. If you'd like an extra moment to respond to Senator Von Hollen, I would be more than welcome to.
No, I think he speaks for himself.
Okay. Well, Secretary, over the years, excessive and misguided regulation have distorted markets and imposed undue cost on the American people. I'm particularly concerned about this dynamic in our banking system. As you and I wrote together in the Wall Street Journal, Dodd-Frank sought to end, quote, too big to fail. But in fact, it created a regulatory environment in which community banks are, quote, too small to succeed. Policy errors have entrenched the dominance of the largest banks and made it even more difficult for community banks, which lack the market-distorting perception of being too big to fail. For smaller banks, the result has been a bloodbath. The U.S. has lost 3,600 community banks since 2010, nearly a 50% decline in the community banks in our state, in our nation. Secretary, I propose bipartisan legislation to increase the deposit insurance limit for non-interest-bearing transaction accounts. This is not a wholesale increase in the deposit insurance limit. It's a narrow reform targeting only non-interest-bearing accounts, typically payroll accounts. How does this bill, this targeted expansion of coverage, fit into the administration's vision for supporting community banks?
Senator, as you know, I, along with you, am one of the great, and another member of this committee, they are a great advocate of this because what we have seen is depositors, investors believe that large banks have an implicit guarantee on all of their deposits during a time of crisis, during a stress event. As we saw in March of 2023, deposits flee from small banks because they are not believed to have that implicit guarantee. Mm-hmm. So if we can have an account for which small businesses, normally their payroll accounts, can deposit funds with the surety that they will be returned, then it will stop that deposit beta, allow Main Street to flourish. What we have seen since the great financial crisis, due to overregulation, 50% of community and small banks have disappeared. And that is what is harming Main Street.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. And I think that's precisely why the National Association of Community Banks have supported my legislation and
Lots
the legislation
of red,
that I wrote about in
folks.
the Wall Street Journal.
Mag 7
last year,
is
Mr.
trying to
Secretary,
climb up.
President Trump signed my bill, the
S&P
Genius Act, into
500
law.
is as well. I am
Private
kind of
sector
looking for a
estimates suggest that
reversal here.
stablecoin adoption may reach between $1 trillion and $3 trillion by the end of this decade. As you know, the Genius Act requires stablecoins to be backed by high-quality liquid assets such as U.S. Treasuries. How does the U.S. leadership in crypto and stablecoins fit into Treasury strategy for maintaining the dollar's role in the center of the global financial system?
Well, Senator, I want to congratulate you and your colleagues, both sides of the aisle, but thank you for your leadership on this. This can be an important source of funding for the U.S. government as we push down the funding for the U.S. government that helps everyday Americans, whether it is for mortgages, or any other borrowing requirements, keeps taxes low. And we believe that with the U.S. having the safest,
put profits are getting locked in. People are starting to buy calls. You can see it here clearly at 10:28, a little bit at 10:12. Price hasn't responded yet, but the delta is improving.
The Genius Act, it was
Awkward
a major
in between
statement
right now, in my
keeping
opinion.
innovation on shore. And I'd just like to get your perspective in terms of the stability and clarity that we provided with the Genius Act and what that means for keeping innovative capacity here in America.
Well, it's innovative capacity in digital assets, and remaining the leader in that is imperative. And what we don't want to have are central bank digital assets, which we are seeing in the rest of the world. And Senator, as you and I have often discussed, we are going to see a choice between American private sector assets with our best practices in regulation, or between central bank digital assets, whether in Europe, whether in China,
I am
in the
watching
rest
for
of the
this
world.
trend line
And I
breakout,
think the world is going to choose the U.S.
or
dollar
this
and the
trend line
private
breakdown.
sector well-regulated choice that U.S. stablecoins will provide.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and I think that underscores my sensitivity to not undoing ex post facto the good work that we did in Genius. I want to see us put in place international reciprocal regimes that work. I want to increase the demand for U.S. Treasuries as you do, and I'm going to encourage my colleagues to preserve the Genius Act, given all the hard work that went into it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Thank you for your leadership, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Senator Cortez Masto?
Mag 7 grinding up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It was a question, but I want to make sure it's right.
Thank you.
Nasdaq
Thank
is
you,
flat.
Member. Secretary,
SPY is going,
thank you for
folks.
being
I know
here.
price isn't showing it, but
appreciate
we're at
your
the highest
opening
delta of the
comments
day.
and your report of the Financial Stability Oversight Council's 2025 annual report. You stated in your opening comments that the Treasury has tirelessly pursued pro-growth policies to unlock the potential available to all Americans when they are free to save, invest, build businesses, and drive their own economic destiny. So let's talk about building businesses under this administration. And this is nothing new to you because we've been talking, and I've been talking to you about this for the last year. In Nevada, travel and tourism are the backbone of our economy. Tourism makes up nearly 30% of Nevada's economy, generating $24.4 billion in total wages. This administration's blanket tariffs and insulting rhetoric towards our closest allies are damaging America's tourism economy. For instance, the U.S. saw 12 straight months of declining visitors from Canada last year. The top international market for Las Vegas, that's roughly a 20% decrease for my state. That is countless dollars, jobs that my state, we are losing, paychecks that won't go to Nevada residents, including the over 400,000 hospitality workers across the state who are dealing with this issue. So my question
We have to wait for
is,
something to happen
will you
here, either
apologize
the
for
breakout or
driving
the
away
breakdown.
visitors and hurting our working families?
Couple of things, Senator. One is the Canadian economy is doing poorly, so perhaps part of that, maybe we should deconstruct why Canadian tourism is down. And two, that it's a choice by the Canadians in terms of where they want to go. And so if you think that should we pull down all of our trade barriers with China so that 1.4 billion people can fill up the hotel rooms in Las Vegas?
So this is the data from the Commerce Department, this administration's Commerce Department on National Travel and Tourism Office, year-over-year declines in travelers from October 24th to the 25th. It's not just from Canada, it's from Germany, it's from the Netherlands, it's from Australia, it's New Zealand, it's India, it's Vietnam, it's Philippines. We are seeing under this administration a U.S. Travel Association travel forecast that is dealing with now nearly a $70 billion travel trade deficit for 2025. So how do you intend to address the tourism travel issue that we are losing money in this country because of the policies of this administration?
Is overall the occupancy in Las Vegas down, or more Americans going?
I'm talking about internationally. It's not just me.
No,
it's
but
Florida,
you care
it's
about
other,
the
it's
net.
other states
That's
that are
so
dealing with a
stupid.
decline
Answer the question.
in tourism. And this is my
Of course you care
conversation
about
with
the
you
net.
for the last year that seems to be this administration keeps ignoring. It is a $1 trillion industry to this country, and you don't seem to think it is important. Let me talk about something else, though. You mentioned, I'll give you an opportunity, but you mentioned how you're trying to help my service industry. And I supported this, no tax on tips, because I think more people should keep money in their pocket. But if you're in a service industry and you don't have tourism coming and you don't have a job, it doesn't really matter if your tips are taxed if you're not getting tips. There's a problem. You just have to come to my state, talk to my service industry, talk to the individuals to see. They are not feeling better. No matter how much you and this administration start talking about how wonderful this economy is, they're not seeing it. It is a problem. And all I'm asking, and I think some of my colleagues as well, let's fix it. There's affordability issue in this country, and we need to address it working together. Let's solve this problem. Let's not come up with facts. Let's not tell the American public something that they don't see in their own
Facts are bad.
bank account. Let's just work together to figure it out. That's all I'm asking. I'm asking you to work with us. One final thing. It's not just my service industry. It is small businesses across the country who are being squeezed. We have seen it time and time again. The tourists. Listen, the facts are there. You can debate with me the facts, but the truth of the matter is many of our small businesses are being squeezed right now. Higher prices, absorbing higher costs. Some of them have had to shutter. The small businesses are the backbone of our industry.
My
We've got to do a better
borderline
job for them.
decorator is not working.
I know my time is up. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
ma'am.
Guess there was no
Senator
question.
Tillis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bisson, thank you for being here. I'm going to give you a breather. I got a statement to make that I don't expect you to respond to. Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to put into the record the statement of various banking committee members with respect to the testimony of Chair Powell in his last hearing here.
Without objection?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that's a list of members who have indicated that they did not see criminal intent in his comments here before he was in the banking committee. The reason I brought this up is I had a reporter yesterday challenge me on why it was inappropriate for a sitting member to question a pending investigation. I never do that. But I told the reporter I did it because I was actually a witness at the alleged scene of the crime. The entire case against Senator Powell is encapsulated in his answers to questions before this committee. And now, including the chair, we have witnesses at the alleged scene of the crime we're disappointed with Chair Powell. I actually like Warsh as a potential chair, but we've all said that he was testifying and we didn't see a crime. And so I'm reminded, I don't know about you all, I watch Forensic Files. I've been watching it for years. And I'm kind of thinking about the scene would go like this. In spite of 7 witnesses, eyewitnesses saying no crime was committed, the prosecutor thinks otherwise. And then you hear that music and you cut to commercial. So I do think it's fine for me, being a witness at the scene of the alleged crime, saying that
Fake out, break
we got a
out,
majority of people on this side of the aisle
there.
that didn't think a crime got committed either. If we do this sort of stuff, I believe that future hearings for the Treasury Secretary and other members will be a lot like that Chappelle skit on I Plead the Fifth. they're going to be flanked with attorneys, and any time that they think that they're in the middle of a perjury trap, they're probably just going to say, I'll submit it to the record after consultation with my attorneys. Is that really the way we want oversight to go in the future? I don't expect an answer to the question, but I did want to get that off my chest, so I gave a more fulsome answer to that reporter who asked why it was that I was opining on an active investigation.
I got knocked out of that long. I tried to catch it.
Mr. Secretary, I'm thrilled that you're in the role you're in.
It clearly
I think
failed.
you're a steady influence. I know that I've been public about criticizing certain president's advisors. You're certainly not one of them. But I do have a question. I actually ran into Senator Warren on the floor, and I said, my goodness, Elizabeth, I call her Elizabeth when we're talking on the floor, I said, you have convinced President Trump to put artificial caps on credit card rates. Good on you. Now, I'm going to do everything I can to kill it, but good on you. I think you even talked to the president about that, right?
Equal highs.
Mr. Secretary, what would happen if we put, well, I don't know where you are on the policy, but what would happen to, let's just say one area, asset-backed securities, if we imposed artificial 10% cap on credit card interest rates? And then if you have time in the minute, it's the only question I'm going to ask you. What would it likely do for credit card issuers? You're still going to have to rate for risk in terms of debanking or unbanking or reducing access to a credit. So if you could get to the first one, which has to do with asset-backed securities, if you have time, you can go to the second one. Thank you.
Yes, I think we at Treasury are still examining what it would do to the asset security market. I think it would depend on the length. The president has called for 1 year. And we would also see if they were able to cut costs. Senator, because what's happened is we've seen a migration where credit card companies used to compete on APR, or the interest rate, to rewards. And the rewards go mostly to the upper end. So again, the profitability of credit card companies doesn't have to be hit if they concentrate more on competing on rates than rewards.
And work on the spread, but there's a lot of frothiness in there if we don't get it right. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, sir. Senator Warner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And boy, I didn't hear Senator Kennedy this morning, but Senator Tillis, you were like out Kennedying Kennedy today in terms of your presentation.
Order submitted.
That's a high bar. Mr. Secretary, good to see you. No, Mr.
We will not extend to you anymore.
Mr. I got to get my in a House move. I reclaim my time.
4 minutes and 38 seconds. Please use them.
You actually have a
All right, Mr. Secretary, I got a bunch of stuff. One of the reasons I voted for you, encouraged others, was your support for CDFIs.
I'm just connecting and reconnecting my data here. I'm still having weird issues. I think it's personal.
Bipartisan CDFI caucus.
I'm not seeing anyone else having trade debate issues.
Senator Crapo got 105 Republican members of Congress, including 8 Republicans on this committee, to say CDFIs, it's a good program. Yet the CDFI fund at $324 million in fiscal year 25, it's now February 26, and none of these funds have been released. And I know we've talked about this. Treasurer, I know, works with OMB and some difficulties there. And we're hearing from CDFIs and how this is dramatically affecting. When can we expect those funds to get released?
Senator, I can't give you an answer. OMB will decide the terms and the timing of the CDFI apportionments.
Mr. Secretary, I got to tell you, you're the Treasury Secretary. You run this program. You had 105 Republicans say we need to get the money out.
Well, Senator, unlike the Federal Reserve, I can't print magic money.
Well, you sure as heck could call the OMB director and say this is a program that you have legal authority over. It is important. Matter of fact, as we talked about, President Trump, in many ways, I know he's forgotten this, but in 2019 became the godfather of CDFIs. When in the last Trump COVID package, he put $12 billion into this program. So I urge you, please, Mr. Secretary, pick up the phone and call. I know it would be difficult. I wouldn't want to talk to the OMB director either that much, but please talk to him and see if you can get those dollars released. It is so important. And I hope the 8 of my Republican colleagues will at least say, attaboy Warner on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I reserve my time back. I want to add, I know we're spending a lot, I feel like I'm in crypto hell. I know, Cynthia, I'm welcome to it, and God bless you, and you know, I think, and actually, and I really appreciate what you did on the stablecoins bill. And I think, you know, we got a lot of broad bipartisan support. At least many of us, I think all of my Republicans and many of my Democratic friends agree, we want these products built in America. Crypto's here to stay, and we need clear rules of the road. And
if you're in the Discord, Piper's just
stablecoin was
fired.
simple compared to market structure. But you have, one of the things that we see in crypto, and we are working our tail off. You can please, I think the chairman and I've spent, and Cynthia and others have spent more time on this than, anyway, I'm going to use up my time. But there are a lot of issues around national security that you have unique perspectives on with FinCEN, with the Secret Service. We sure as heck don't want to take away from prosecutors some of the tools they have.
I just got stopped out on that short.
You know, we've got to have some
I'm keeping
area to
super
close
tight
down
wrist,
some of the
but that's
gaps in DeFi.
frustrating.
And again, there's bipartisan agreement on this, but boy,
Like
we
perfectly
need,
wicked out.
I think we're starting to
Son
get
of a
some of the
bitch.
technical assistance. But if you can just make clear that this is a real problem.
Order submitted.
And, you know, we'll deal with yields and rewards, we'll deal with a host of other issues, but these national security issues around DeFi are real, and we need to not create a set of rules that leaves huge exemptions and candidly takes away some of the prosecutorial powers that exist today.
Senator, I look forward to working with you on that. We've had problems, and historically, there's problems when the technology gets ahead of the legislation. So if we can work with you on the legislation it's for both OFAC and FinCEN.
I should have done the stop to
We
break
love
even.
your technical
I can't
assistance,
believe I
and
got wicked out by that.
Mr. Chairman and Senator Lomas, that you will be invited to our next round robin on that, and that may be later today or tomorrow or Monday. So
Good, and if you could convince some of there seems to be a nihilist group in the industry who would prefer no regulation over this very good regulation.
amen, brother. So weigh in.
Amen, brother.
Weigh in.
Early and often, Senator.
Weigh in. One last comment. I know my time is up. No, last comment. Hey,
Senator.
agentic AI, we got to come back and talk about. Agentic AI, huge possibilities with AI, but we've got to be careful about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Unbelievable. Okay. Senator Lummis.
Thank you. I'm going to pursue this line of questioning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. You've had a chance to travel the world since you took the oath of office. Is China trying to use digital assets and blockchain to build an alternative to American financial leadership?
We don't know that for sure. There are lots of rumors of Chinese digital assets that may be backed by something other than the RMB, perhaps gold-based. We haven't seen that. They have a very large sandbox in Hong Kong, and HKMA is actively traveling the world looking at different mechanisms. So I would not be surprised.
Based on what you know now, what is your opinion about the importance of having clear rules of the road, market structure legislation in the United States?
Look, I think that it's impossible to proceed without it. We have to get this Clarity Act across the finish line, and any market participants who don't want it should move to El Salvador.
So, as a industry, what is the benefit to having this industry embedded in the U.S. economy?
Well, again, as I said, that there seem to be people who want to live in the U.S. but not have rules for this important industry, and we've got to bring safe, sound, and smart practices and the oversight of the U.S. government, but also allow for the freedom that is crypto. And I think it's a balance that is being worked out. It was worked out in the Genius Act, and I'm confident with leadership of people on both sides of the aisle that we can get clarity across the line this year.
Can you see a day when conventional banks and
Dude,
digital
why
asset banking
in the world
are offering the same
my
types of products, giving each an advantage
borderline
to offering
decorator
a
not
broader array of financial products to the American consumer?
I think that can happen over time, and we've actually been working with small and community banks to discuss how they can be part of the digital asset revolution also.
Among the things that have challenged us in these last months is concern by community banks and big banks that the stablecoin bill, the Genius Act, and market structure could cause a bleeding of deposits from small banks. What's your reaction to that concern?
Look, I've been a champion of these small banks.
I'm having the
and
worst
deposit
data issues right
volatility
now.
Is very
And
undesirable.
I'm trying to check my
because
internet.
it
I'm sorry if
is
it's like
the
choppy here.
stability
I
of those
think
deposits
it's
that
on
allows
my
them
end. I don't think
to,
it's Trade of Eight.
lend into their communities, ag, small business, real estate, and we will continue to work to make sure that there is no deposit volatility associated with this.
Well, as an ag borrower, I commend you on that because I have borrowed from community banks on our ag operation for decades, and we're dependent on our community banking
stopped out for
relationships
break even. I just
in rural
cannot
America
fucking catch it.
to help sustain
Good thing
us
I'm not
and grow
trading
our
on the main
businesses.
accounts right
So
now.
I very much
This would
appreciate
be
that. I want to
hell.
switch to digital asset
We're just not getting that
taxation
nice
for
trend.
just a minute. So among the things that I'm exploring, and the Senate Finance Committee has a package of bills that looks really good to me on
Nothing of note,
digital
nothing cool
asset
going
taxation.
on, folks. I mean,
But
I'm
one
showing
of
you
them
the
that's
5 minute
kind of
here.
vexing,
The move was right here,
that I could
and
use
since
some
then, fucking
guidance
nothing.
on is the issue of de minimis with regard to especially Bitcoin and other digital assets that might be used as a means of exchange. So the issue is, will it be a capital gain?
Ever since 1010,
or will
just going
it
nowhere.
be exempt from capital gains when it's used as a means of exchange to purchase things? And if it's going to be subject to a capital gain, how do you calculate what the capital gain is? If somebody has a blended portfolio of Bitcoin, some of which were purchased when it was $300, some of which were purchased today at $75,000, and some of which were purchased a year ago at over $100,000. How do you calculate the capital gain? Do you have some thoughts about that, or who I could consult with in your shop?
It's a very complicated subject. We'd be very happy to have our Office of Tax Policy work with your team.
I'll be over. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
We look forward to seeing you.
Did she forget his name?
Senator Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Secretary, would you consider food and ag to be an important part of the U.S. economy?
Extremely.
Thank you. I agree with you on that. The U.S. food and ag sector is a massive economic force, contributing over $9.5 trillion, supporting over 24 million jobs. So, Mr. Chair, what I'd like to do is to submit a letter for the record. This is a letter sent on Tuesday to the ag committees in both the House and the Senate. It's signed by 27 former and current leaders in the ag sector from all across the country. It's a very bipartisan letter. Folks from corn, pork, milk, grains, renewable fuels, Farm Bureau, former USDA officials from both Democratic and Republican administrations.
Without objection.
Thank you. Secretary Besson, as you no doubt know, and as this letter points out, farm bankruptcies have doubled. Barely half of all farms are profitable this year. The U.S. is running a historic agriculture trade deficit, which is a sharp reversal from record surpluses. And farmers are paying higher prices for everything, from health care to farm inputs, grocery, and utility bills. And I want to just read you a piece of this letter, which says, consider the impact of the China trade war on soybeans alone. In 2018, when the China tariffs were initially proposed, whole U.S. soybean exports represented 47% of the world market. Today, it's down to just 24.4%. The letter goes on. So, Secretary Bessent, my question for you is, When can farmers expect this turbulence and this chaos to stop and input prices to begin to stabilize or at least come down for them?
Well, Senator, as you know, input prices spiked under the Biden administration. And
Secretary Bessent, when can we expect?
Again, it's market-based. And as someone who, until the end of last year, was involved in the ag sector, I can tell you it was a record harvest. So it is a problem of abundance, but costs are up. We are working to bring the costs down.
Input costs are up, I believe, Mr. Secretary, in large part because tariffs are driving those costs up. And this is causing massive uncertainty and chaos in the farm sector, which is really hurting many farmers in my state and around the country.
Senator, it was very unfortunate that the Chinese decided to use our grape farmers, soybean farmers, as a pawn in trade negotiations. We have the administration's come out with a $12 billion
1 minute
package,
potential breakout,
and
1 minute
we
potential
have
breakout.
guarantees from the Chinese. They bought $12 billion of soybeans just since October. They are committed to buying, not 12 million tons. They will buy 25 million tons for the next 3 years to stabilize the market.
But what is happening for farmers in Minnesota is this constant on again, off again, tariffs on, tariffs off. It is chaotic, it is confusing, and it is destroying our markets. And so
it has nothing to do with the tariffs on.
Well,
tariffs
I think it
off.
has a lot to do, and these farmers, sir, believe that it
CCP
has a lot to do with Trump tariff policy. I want to just, Mr. Chair, if I may, before I close, I want to link this conversation to some of the challenges that are happening in the ag sector and the larger economic challenges in Minnesota caused by the immigration action that is happening in Minnesota right now.
Disconnection shit.
The truth is that ag country is heavily impacted by this. This mass deportation plan is having a huge impact on the ability of farmers in my state to be able to get access to labor. And I'm talking about people who are here legally. And I know that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle that represent farm country understand you are hearing this from your farmers and ranchers as well. And it is having huge impacts on dairy and fruit and veggies. It is
Here's the options flow.
Major
It's
problem, not just in
up.
the farm sector,
Spies
but
at the high
all
of the day.
across my state.
Lots
where
of
just in Minneapolis
0DT
alone,
coal
separate
mines
from
started at
agriculture,
10.13,
small businesses are
and
losing an
the profits
estimated
were getting locked in on the
$20
0DTs
million
there.
a week because of customers just not being able to show up, being afraid, workers being unable to go to work because they're afraid of going out. The bottom line here, colleagues, is that this mass deportation plan was supposed to go after the worst of the worst, but what's really happening is that these poorly trained and aggressive agents are breaking families apart. They are hurting children. They are separating from their families. They are targeting and detaining and arresting people that have done nothing wrong, and that is morally reprehensible. And Mr. Secretary, it is reprehensible that you would blame Alex Preddy, a U.S. citizen, for his own death, shot in the back by these federal agents.
Wait, what does that have to do with the state of the economy?
Thank you, Mr.
though?
Chairman. I'd like to just respectfully respond to my colleague and give you an opportunity to actually respond as well, Mr. Secretary. When I look back over the last 4 years of the Biden administration, it was failed policies for our agriculture industry. Number one, President Biden walked away from the trade deals and the trade gains that President Trump had gotten for our ag industry. Number two, with record high inflation, it hit our farmers worse than anyone. Both the war on energy of the Biden administration, plus the amount and the payment of equipment, plus the fact that input cost had literally been frozen, and the Biden administration failed to pass a farm bill, didn't even try. So here you had record high cost with energy, equipment, labor, inflation, and then you cap what they can make. And I don't remember one person on the other side of the aisle saying, let's move a farm bill. Let's help these people. Let's drive down energy cost. And so I would just like to say, Mr. Secretary, I feel like our ag industry is at the forefront of what we're looking at right now, and I would like to give you an opportunity to respond.
I have a long at 679,
one of the things I will
but the
respond
stop's
to
at break even,
is
and it's
that
about to
in my
get
first meeting
knocked
with my
out. The
Chinese
volatility.
counterpart, the vice premier, I asked him, under the Phase 1 purchase
Oh.
agreements, they were actually
Oh.
exceeded in 2020.
I dodged a bullet on that
Signed
one.
in January 2020. The level of the agreement was exceeded every time President Trump has spoken with Party Chair Xi. He suggested he buys more soybeans, and slowly that the tapered off. And we said, why? He said, Biden didn't enforce. Biden didn't enforce the purchase agreements.
Yeah, walked away from it. So speaking of something else we walked away from in the Biden administration was actually being tough on Iran when it came to sanctions. I appreciate the maximum pressure strategy that President Trump has gone back to.
Order
I'd like to
submitted.
ask you, what more can we be doing as we see us place pressure on the Ayatollah, who is no friend of the United States of America, and as we see what he is doing to the citizens of his own country and the streets? What more can we be doing to make sure that we are placing the pressure that we need to on the greatest state sponsor of terrorism, and that is the Ayatollah and Iran?
Well, what we can do at Treasury, and what we have done is created a dollar shortage in the country. At a speech at the
order
Economic
filled.
Club of New York in March, I outlined the strategy. It came to a swift and I would say grand
Order
culmination
submitted.
in December, when one of the largest banks in Iran went under. There was a run on the bank. The central bank had to print money. The Iranian currency went into free fall. Inflation exploded, and hence we have seen the Iranian people out on the street. We will continue
submitted.
monitoring all the partners, all the Iranian partners. The good news, Senator, is that we have seen, and we can see it with our fencing, we have seen the Iranian leadership wiring money out of the country like crazy. So the rats are leaving the ship. And that is
Rats
a
are
good
leaving the
sign that
ship.
they know the end
There
may be
were
near.
buyers at 80.
I want to switch quickly to regulatory tailoring. It is obviously my belief that proper tailoring actually ensures that supervision is grounded in economic reality rather than subject ideology. Can you speak a little bit to the work that you and IFSOC agencies
Gonna
are
move
doing
the
to more
stop on
properly
this,
calibrate our
long
regulatory
back to break
framework,
even,
whether it's
seeing
capital
if I can
rules or
catch
stress
this
testing,
fish.
or even adjusting to outdated thresholds?
Again, we are looking at all the thresholds.
Belongs at
One thing that happened,
96.
too big to fail became too small to succeed, as Senator Haggerty said. And we don't want to see more of our small banks go under. What we want to see before the great financial crisis and this excessive regulation on the system was we would see about 50 new banks formed every year, by definitionally small banks, and we need to get back to doing that. We need to get back to small banks. I was talking to a community banker, 17 employees, 3 compliance people.
And last, I've got 30 seconds, but there have been claims made by the other side of the aisle, even tweets put out. I can provide that for you if you need that. But some pretty serious accusations, and saying,
5
we have
minutes
a tweet
testing
actually
on
from the
AQ.
ranking member that says, and I want you to be able to correct the record if this is true, but essentially claims that the IRS has gutted enforcement and dismantled the DOJ or forced tax fraud investigators to actually stop doing their job. Does that have any legitimacy at all? Because I think that gives us all concern if that's the truth.
Complete sophistry. We've identified $10 billion in tax crimes, up 15% from 2024, $4.5 billion tax fraud, up 110% from last year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Warnock.
Thank you, Chair Scott, and welcome, Secretary Bessent. President Trump promised that his administration would usher in
Stop his break even at 96.
a, quote, golden age of American manufacturing. In September
Long on
2024,
NQ.
at a rally in my home state of Georgia, Donald Trump said, quote, we're going to have a manufacturing boom. Secretary Bessent, we're now more than 1 year into the Trump administration. Yes or no? Has there been a manufacturing boom in the United States?
There are the beginnings of a manufacturing boom. We have intentions, factory groundbreakings, sir.
So your answer to that is yes, there's been a manufacturing boom?
That we are at the beginning of a manufacturing boom.
Okay, you and I could agree to disagree, but more importantly, manufacturers are telling us something different. Manufacturers are struggling because of the president's policies, and That's what they keep telling us, and the facts keep telling us. In fact, just this past Monday, the Wall Street Journal published this article entitled, U.S. Manufacturing is in Retreat, and Trump's tariffs aren't helping. I request consent to enter this article into the hearing record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
Secretary Besson, do you know how many manufacturing jobs the United States has lost since Liberation Day in April 2025, when the president first announced his tariffs?
Yes, Senator, because you were out of the room, but it was already brought up.
We do many things, sir. I don't need you to tell me where I was.
72,000, and I will point out that the Wall Street Journal
72,000
is not called the Main Street Journal, and they care more about Wall
I'm not,
Street than Main
sir,
Street.
I'm not asking you to opine on the Wall Street Journal. I have 3 minutes. Just answer the questions that I'm actually asking you. So 72,000 manufacturing jobs, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Thank you for answering the question. Manufacturers shed workers in each of the 8 months after President Trump unveiled his tariffs on what he called Liberation Day. I would submit that it's a strange liberation and a curious freedom that leaves you unemployed. Even worse, smaller businesses are struggling to keep up with the tariff chaos. Big manufacturers may have the resources to shift suppliers. And I need you to understand the spirit of my questions. I spend a lot of time
Why is the line decorator
talking to
working
the people
here,
in Georgia who've given me the
but
great
not
honor
here?
of representing them in the United States Senate. And so this is about them. And especially our small businesses. They don't have the ear of the president. They don't have access to Mar-a-Lago. And so they're not able to insulate their company from the worst of the tariff. Secretary Besson, small businesses without the same resources or unfettered access to the president, what should those businesses do for the relief if they can't get into Mar-a-Lago?
Again, sir, small business confidence is up. And we are seeing
We're
that
back
the One
at
Big
BWAP.
Beautiful Bill gives the full expensing for equipment, factories, and
I'm moving my
ag
stop up
structures.
50 points.
They are telling us that it's more expensive to make basic things. We are moving in the wrong direction. The facts don't lie. The president lies often, but the facts don't lie. In fact, if you're saying we're at the beginning, basically your answer to those small businesses is wait a little while. Is that the answer? That a year from
you ask about manufacturing.
That's right.
So
I'm asking you,
and I am saying
I'm asking you about this manufacturing boom. Will we see something different a year from now?
We are going to see it. I was just in my home state, Senator Scott's state, South Carolina, that we are seeing a boom there. And I believe Georgia has very good pro-business policies. I'm sure you will see a boom there also. The factory build intentions are quite high.
I'll tell you what I see. I see, as I talk to folks, that it's more expensive to build things in America. I see that we've lost 72,000 jobs a year into this
Moving my stop up a little bit
We've
higher.
lost,
My
manufacturing
average now is
jobs every month
711,
since
stops
he
at
called
69,
for Liberation
so that's
Day.
whatever,
And meanwhile, folks who are
58
working
points.
in these small businesses trying to make their lives work, they're seeing higher costs. They're seeing their costs go up for groceries. They're seeing their costs go up for electricity. They're seeing their costs go up for health care. And I think the American people are still waiting for a solution. So far, we haven't seen one coming out of this Trump tariffs regime. The Baptist preacher is done, and I have no time left. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Inflation.
Senator Ricketts.
Almost getting knocked
Thank you
out.
very much, Chairman Scott and Ranking Member Warren, for this hearing, and Secretary Besson, thanks very much for being
About
here.
to get
Appreciate
knocked
it.
out.
Good to see you, Senator.
Good seeing you. And I want to thank you and commend you for updating the 45Z clean fuel production credit. That is very important, so thank you very much for getting that out. Your guidance incorporates what we put in the Working Families Tax Cut. Remember, that's how we rebranded the One Big Beautiful Bill, and supports Nebraska farmers and biofuel producers. So that's really, really important.
My stop's
It
at
also ensures
69.
that
You might hear
feedstocks
it
from
get hit.
faraway
Stops there.
countries
It's
will not
guaranteeing
be
1,000, so
allowed to
1.6
get that
on the
credit,
day,
which means
or it
American
might rip
taxpayer
up
dollars
to
will stay
842.
here in America. That was very important. So Secretary Besson, appreciate that. Also, want to just comment on one of my colleagues from the other side of the aisle talking about the ag economy. I would note that under the Biden administration, we had 4 years in a row of agricultural trade deficits because the
Why
Biden
is this
administration
not
was the
working,
first
this
administration,
indicator?
going back to Jimmy Carter, not to sign a major trade deal. And that is one of the reasons why we have such a hard problem or a hard time right now in the ag. And in fact, when talking about input prices under the Biden administration, June of 2022, diesel hit $5.75. Now it's at $3.52. So again, we need to address the issues to help our farm
There we
economy
go.
out.
So you
But
just need to
a lot
change
the
one of
seeds
these
this was
things.
started in the Biden administration. I also want to thank you for presenting FSOC's
That's how you
2025
do it.
annual report.
I was
In
having a
that,
tough time.
one of the things that perhaps you already touched upon, and if I'm repeating myself, please forgive me, or repeating what's happening here, forgive me, but the Biden administration, under the Biden administration, then Secretary Yellen, actually undid all the good work of the Trump administration in 2019's FSOC when they changed the activity-based designation guidance. Yellen replaced it with her own guidance that was turning a last resort safeguard into a tool that could be weaponized and stifle innovation and restrict access to capital that would grow our economy. A little over 2 years ago, I sent a letter to then Secretary Yellen about how the 2023 entity-based designation guidance was misguided, lacked evidentiary support, and increased the likelihood of market distortions. Secretary Brissett, do you agree with the characterizations of the 2023 guidance that could do all these things, could cause market distortions?
I believe in the activity-based guidance, and we are moving back to
I moved
that,
my stop
Senator.
up to 80, 70 points in the money.
And Senator, if I could just point out that FSOC under Secretary Yellen, 2 weeks before the three of the largest bank failures in U.S. history, many of them due to bond market portfolios, identified climate as the biggest risk to financial stability. They had not over-leveraged bond portfolios.
Seems like misplaced priorities given a financial service sector. Secretary Yellen rolled out her new guidance, and then she stripped out the cost-benefit analysis of it. In your view, does cost-benefit analysis matter in evaluating to use FSOC's SIFI designation authority?
Again, sir, without that, why would you do it?
What is your view on the activity-based designation approach that was developed through the transparent and methodical process done in 2019?
We are readopting it, and we believe it is fulsome, robust, and smart-minded.
Great. Thank you very much, Secretary. Thanks to President Trump's leadership and your steady hand at the Department of Treasury, the United States economy is doing very well. I think the GDP growth in the last quarter, third quarter, was 4.4% annualized in 2025. Labor markets remain resilient. The unemployment rate is 1.2% below historical average. Inflation is down from the highs of the 40-year high Biden administration, decreasing some 70% from the peak in the Biden administration. American markets are strong.
My stop
We saw
is at
the largest
80.
tax cut in history signed into law, allowing us to avoid a $4.2 trillion tax increase.
Order filled.
We've got no tax on tips,
That
no
was the
tax on
disconnection,
overtime. 88%
reconnection.
of seniors will not pay federal income tax. The average refund is supposed to be $1,000 higher this year. And the average Nebraska family will avoid a $2,400 tax increase. Yet, despite all this progress, we're seeing consumer confidence is not really rebounding the way that the economy seems to be.
Moving
In your
my
opinion,
stop up
what
to
more can we in the Senate be doing
85?
with
It's
regard
about to get
to
clocked.
consumer confidence and making, obviously we had 40-year high inflation under the Biden administration.
Almost
but
got clocked.
What more can we be doing in the Senate to be able to help out with confidence in
I'm
of
long at
consumers?
7-Eleven.
Other than
Stop is at
telling
85.
consumers to turn off
If it gets,
MSNBC.
it might get rejected at VWAP.
A large part of it is a survey problem where Democrats vote very low, Republicans are more realistic, and then we end up what we're seeing.
Senator Kim's time. I appreciate your comments, but
Yeah, thank you.
And by the way, for all members, they're going to close the vote at 12:05. So,
Okay.
just let
Thank
know
you,
that.
Chairman.
Started 10 minutes ago.
So got
Thank
back.
you, Secretary,
I made
for
2K,
coming on out here.
Lost
Just the other
4K,
week, you took
and then
part
made
in
it back.
talks
So
with Russia.
this is where I was
guess I
after
just
the
wanted to
first
ask
trade,
you
as
just
in I should
your
have stopped
view
here.
of this. Do you agree that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was illegal and a violation of sovereignty and law?
Senator, I've been saying that since my confirmation.
That's right. Also, would you say that
That's
Vladimir
right.
Putin is a war criminal?
I've also been saying that since my confirmation.
Now, before you started, Treasury regularly targeted hundreds of actors and networks who sent critical goods
Dude,
to
literally
Russia's
they
war machine
bottom-ticked me
with
right
rounds
there.
of sanctions every 1 or 2 months. The previous administration added about 297 China-based entities and individuals to our sanctions list under the Russia sanctions program. I want to ask you, do you know how many you have added and designated as part of the Russia sanctions program since you came in as Treasury Secretary?
I do not, but I do know that President Trump sanctioned Rosneft and Lukoil, which was the major sanctions achievement, and dwarfs everything else, and has brought the Russians to the table for the talks that I was at last Saturday.
And you'll have bipartisan support for those sanctions, but I'll just say that there is also bipartisan support on doing everything we can to crack down on Russia's war machine, not just on the energy side. And so, as I said, the previous administration has added 297 China-based entities. This administration has added 0. That is the number 0. So I just urge
pretty
you.
saucy if we crack 70
extremely weak
here.
on sanctions, and it was on record as saying that they did not want to increase energy sanctions because they were worried about the midterms, worried about the failed election of Vice President Harris, and in a
We're running right
display
into VWAP.
of
Silver's
cowardice
getting a nice.
on the
I'm not
part-
asking you
no,
about
but
that
on-
right
on-
now.
But on the way out the door, Jake Sullivan raised some of the energy sanctions. President Trump took the most bold action. So we have done more.
I'm
than
asking you
anyone.
here, can you commit to this Congress that you will take action to sanction
Do you think this
Russia's
breakout's going to
shadow
hold?
fleet?
We're testing right now.
I will take it under consideration. We will see where the peace talks go.
I see how this administration has taken this maximalist approach, adding pressure when it comes to Iran's shadow fleet, talking about, cutting off Venezuela's ships. I think that there needs to be consistency here. And again, there is bipartisan support for this. I wanted to just switch gears. Would you agree that money laundering is a national security threat to this country?
Yes, sir.
Now, with Binance founder Zhao pleaded guilty to violating anti-money laundering laws and was sent to prison, Binance then injected billions of dollars into Trump's family business, World Liberty Financial, and Zhao asked for a pardon and received that. I just wanted to ask you, is that a conflict of interest in your opinion?
I am unfamiliar with any of that. I wear many hats. The pardon hat is not one of them.
I'm just asking, do you see it as a conflict of interest, though?
Again, I'm not going to respond to that.
When you had the Russia talks, was Jared Kushner a part of the Russia talks?
Yes.
What is his official role in the U.S. government right now?
I believe that he is a special envoy.
So you believe that he has an official position and that is not a unpaid volunteer position?
Sorry, I believe that it is not an official position, that he is designated as an interlocutor as we bring many people into the talk.
I just raised this because this is the problem that we're seeing right now when it comes
Silver's
to these
going.
conflicts of interest. We see the Trump family getting involved in different roles, even though they don't have official positions. We see Pakistan now announcing that they're going to use Trump's family's companies' crypto for cross-border transactions and trade. Does that not concern you?
Again, I'd be especially interested to hear if you have any information of why Mr. Kushner is conflicted in the Russia talks.
Look, what I'm saying is that if he
So,
wants to be,
is
if
he-
he wants to participate in that, he should go by the same financial disclosures and getting rid of conflicts of interest that every other senior government official, including yourself, have to go through. And look, I'm just saying that when we're seeing Trump pardoning Binance founder Zhao, when seeing instead investigating Jerome Powell, when we see that Trump is now suing
battling it
the
out at the
Treasury and the
5-minute.
IRS for $10 billion, he even said, I am supposed to work out a settlement with myself. That's what Trump said. Do you think that that is a conflict of interest?
That is a Justice Department issue.
No, it is suing your department.
The Justice Department represents Treasury. I would suggest you contact Justice.
With that, I yield back.
Senator Kramer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. And let me say, I'm sorry you're no longer a North Dakota farmer. You were a good one, and we were sorry to see you go. So I'm going to really shift gears here and talk about something that truly is bipartisan, and that is the adoption tax credit.
And
I
that's
know you
the
wake up every
Epstein
morning
list.
thinking about it, but and I'm just going to ask you to look into it for me. But during last year's working families tax cut, the reconciliation package, we took a version. We altered the adoption tax credit a bit to include making it partially refundable up to $5,000. And previously, up until 2011, there was a refundability of part of the credit. The adoption
Order
tax credits
submitted.
always had this carry forward provision that allowed, of course, families to carry over unused portions into the next tax liability.
Order submitted.
Our intent in the working families tax cuts was for the carry forward to be eligible for the $5,000 refund as well. And the JCT actually included that in their score, again, which sort of validates the intent of Congress. However, the IRS
We
is
might be
interpreting
rolling
the
over
language
here.
to mean that the carry forward is not eligible, affecting, of course, the adopted families from 2020 through 2024. What the IRS did is they interpret the effective date of December 31st, 2024, the same way Congress intended. But there's a big difference now between Congress's intent here and the IRS's interpretation of it. I don't believe it was the administration's intent to make this what I believe to be a mistake when the president signed it into law. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention, mostly to highlight it and then to see if you'd be willing to look into it for me.
Senator, I believe you're referring to the section 7402. And my tax office is very happy to work with your staff.
I look forward to that. And the underlying bill that created this language is very bipartisan. Our colleague, my good friend Amy Klobuchar, and I
Order
co-chair the Adoption Caucus, or the coalition, and work on these things closely together. So we'd love to work with you. Okay, on another matter, yesterday in the House, my friend and colleague Bill Huizenga, Congressman Huizenga, talked to you about the 3% budget resolution.
I just went short on
bill that he
NQ,
has. I'm leading that resolution
762
over
on the
here in
potential
Senate.
POP rejection.
The goal of it is to establish the goal of reducing the federal deficit to 3% of GDP. Now, you referenced in your opening statement, I noticed that it's already been reduced somewhat to 5.4%. And one of the ways we can grow out of a deficit, or we can get out of a deficit or reduce a deficit, is by growing out of it. But I'd like to work on both sides of the ledger with you a little bit, because you have said that we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem, and I absolutely 100% agree. So maybe you could just speak.
I'm short at
the remaining time,
63,
although I would
and my
love to
stop is 801
translate
on
productivity
NQ.
Sometimes as a result of efficiency, which might be a little bit of a workforce challenge, but that's another whole longer story. But speak a little bit to that goal. Is 3% by 2030, which is what our resolution do? Is that realistic?
So, Senator, my target is for something that begins with a 3 by the end of President Trump's term. As I said, for calendar 2024, we're at 7%, the highest when we weren't at war, not in a recession. We're at 5.4, and what friends from the other side of the aisle don't, the tale of woe and gloom, we have, of the past 3 quarters, we've averaged 4.1% GDP growth, and we had a fiscal contraction last year. They brought down the spending, which is one of the reasons our bond market did well, so we're at 5.4, and as we move that down, we will see the economy improve, and everyone could go to the Treasury website, or the X account, I'm old school, they can go to the X account, and they can see a study by MIT that shows that the budget
down to
deficit
85.
that was blown out in 21 and 22 created the great inflation of 22. So as we bring down government spending, it will bring
Moving
down
my profit to
rates and bring down
60.
inflation.
And at the
61.
productivity growth levels we're at right now, I mean, who knows how quickly we can get out of it.
I think we're in an
I'm
exciting
closely
time that
watching
could
for a
be,
bounce off
like we
720
saw in the
though.
90s.
Once
I
we
agree
hit,
with you. We're at the beginning of the boom.
I don't know,
I yield
720,
back 2
725, my
seconds.
stop's going to break even.
Thank you, sir. Senator Gallego.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Secretary Besson, thank you again for being here today. We kind of touched on this earlier. In addition to being Treasury Secretary, you are serving as acting director of the IRS. So following up on Senator Kim's questioning, so you are fully aware that the president is suing your agency for $10 billion.
Yeah.
We would agree. Would you agree that $10 billion is a good sum of money?
Yes, sir.
No,
Where
it's
would
a
that
bad sum
be
of
come
money.
from? Let's say for some reason he actually wins that lawsuit. Where would that $10 billion come from?
Again, it would come from.
Process-wise, I'm not asking like your opinion whether it's right or wrong.
Stop to break even.
It comes from Treasury, which comes from
Order, Phil.
the general fund.
Holy shit.
The Treasury
Never
General
mind.
So taxpayers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Part of the 440,000 taxpayers whose returns were leaked.
If the president, they're not suing, but if the president prevails in this lawsuit, he's going to be able to pocket that money. My question is the president, has anyone in the president's office talked to you about this lawsuit in any regard?
They have not, and the president has said he will donate the proceeds to charity. You may have missed that.
So no one at all has discussed this to you whatsoever?
No, sir, and the president said he will.
Have you received, I didn't ask any more questions. Have you received any advice from Treasury's legal division about how to handle this potential conflict?
This is a Justice Department matter. They represent Treasury in it.
Have someone from the Department of Justice actually come and talk to you saying that this is their purview and you need to stay out of it? Or who has discussed to you what is your role in this?
Our general counsel, who's sitting behind me, has told me that it is a Justice Department matter. The Justice Department defends Treasury in matters like this.
Okay, so it has been discussed with you. Do you have any final say at all in the process
filled.
of this? Or is the DOJ just going to instruct you to cut a check and or settle, and you
Could
have
be a
no
potential high or low
independence
right
to
here.
actually make a decision whether or not the president deserves $10 billion?
Again, that is a DOJ matter.
And so the DOJ will entirely make that decision if
Right
whether
here,
or not the president should receive
11:45
$10
could have a
billion. You
change
have
of
no
trend.
say at all.
Correct.
So you would just have to write the check if you were told to write the check.
Correct.
And you would write the check willingly if you're told by a DOJ to the president.
I will follow the law, Senator.
Okay.
Right here, we're
I mean,
just at
I
the
think for many of
5-minute
us, this is very
equilibrium
simple, and I
of
think
which way
if
are we
this had been
going,
happening
higher
in
or
other
lower?
countries, it would look an absolute like a total
30 minutes is still bearish.
shakedown of the American
10
taxpayer.
minutes still
Are
bearish.
you also aware
30 minutes bearish.
that President Trump has
10
filed
minutes
claims
bearish.
seeking $230 million from the Justice Department for investigations conducted during
1
his
minute's
previous
bullish. 1
candidacy?
minute's bullish.
I'm
I was looking for
unaware
that
of the
breakdown there.
cumulative number.
Obviously, did not occur.
So if the president wins or settles these claims, that money will come also from the Treasury Judgment Fund, which you do control. Have you recused yourself from any decisions about paying the president on these
I guess I got
Again,
really
I'll
lucky
follow
with
the
that
law,
stop to
and
break
I'm not
even.
involved with any of this.
It got hit
stems
really
from
quick,
justice.
but it saved me
So you,
a loss.
even though the Treasury Judgment Fund is called the Treasury Judgment Fund, you have no control over the Treasury Judgment Fund.
We act as paymaster.
So you will sign it then?
Sorry?
You will sign the check then? If you're a paymaster, you'd be the person's signature is to the Treasury Judgment Fund?
I would assume it would be a wire transfer.
Yes, I'm assuming we're not that old school.
Yep.
But that being said, so you have no say in this whatsoever. You will only basically follow what the DOJ says, but you're the person that actually is the final person that pushes
We're right
send
back to a
essentially
key
on the
level?
wire transfer.
Yes.
And even if you feel or that it is unjust, the fact that this president is basically plundering U.S. taxpayer dollars, you will still hit that send button.
Even if I believe that 6103, the IRS tax code, was violated and 440,000 taxpayers were leaked.
So
by Mr.
back back to this other thing. So now you do believe, though, I mean, do you understand why some of us see a problem with that? And let me ask just a very simple question. Do you work for the President of the United States?
I work for the American people.
So can the president fire you?
Or he can.
He can fire you, correct?
Yes.
So isn't it a conflict of interest that you're going to be making these decisions and the president has full power over you?
I think you're confused, Senator. I am not part of the decision.
Well, you're certainly a person that send on the wire transfer, and I think that's why there's a lot of people there.
What is a stupid
do not
fucking
trust
question?
and do not trust the president's actually looking at his best interest.
I guess you were saying that
I'm controlling the time here.
obeying the
I'm
law-
controlling. You're not obeying the law. You're plundering U.S. taxpayer dollars. Plundering U.S. taxpayer dollars.
No, if he's
Plundering
legally
taxpayer
compelled
dollars.
to hit send,
Plundering.
he has to
Thank you.
hit
Yield back.
send. It's not his legal decision.
Senator McCormick is now
It
recognized.
is a stupid question because
Thank you.
he doesn't make the legal
Mr. Secretary,
decision
welcome.
on if it's
in
criminal or
Pennsylvania,
not.
we're
He's
fortunate
not
to
the
have
lawyer.
abundant
It is a
energy
stupid
resources,
question.
as you know, when you attended our summit, a skilled workforce and world-class universities. The pro-growth policies of President Trump have enabled the Commonwealth to capitalize on this optimism and investor confidence, and it's attracted billions in investment and spurred growth. The working families tax cuts are set to deliver more than $600 billion, a new relief to the middle class. And still, there's more to be done. Permitting reform, for example, would
1 minute's
unlock
bullish,
billions,
5
perhaps
minutes testing,
trillions of
10 minutes
dollars
bearish.
that sits
1
on the
minute's
sideline
bullish,
right now.
5 minutes
And so,
bullish,
Secretary
10 minutes
Besson,
testing.
would you talk for a minute about permitting reform and how important those reforms are to unlock additional growth beyond the fantastic growth we've seen so far?
Well, as I've often said, Senator, the president's economic program is a three-legged stool: trade, tax, and dereg. And permanent reform is a very important part of the deregulatory agenda. And as we've seen, more supply also pushes down inflation and increases economic growth. I think it is the deregulatory agenda is the most unsung part of the president's agenda.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And there's going to be a big push, I think, from the Senate. There's already been legislation in the House, and Mr. Secretary, looking forward to your support for a permitting reform package, which I think could really stimulate further the president's agenda. Second question: the working families tax cuts also created Trump accounts, a new tool, creative, sort of really remarkable moment to support families and build wealth for the next generation. Could you talk just for a minute about the motivation for the program and what do you think this is going to be able to accomplish?
Senator, 38% of American households do not have any exposure to the U.S. equity market. So for the next 4 years, as a $1,000 seed investment is made to all newborns, it will bring them into the system and set them on a path. There can be contributions
1 minute
from
bullish,
family
5
members,
minute bullish, 10 minute
from
bearish, but about to be
employers,
testing.
from
1 minute bullish, 10 minute,
from
5 minute bullish,
philanthropists,
10 minute
and
testing.
we believe that over 20 states will do this. So
We're coming
it is going
up
to,
onto
over
the
time,
low from
allow
yesterday. There
all
might
families
be
to
a
have
rejection
share
between this
of the great
30-50
American
area.
innovation
It's just
and
a
growth
key area,
economy.
so we have to pay attention to it.
You know, as people I meet in Pennsylvania hear about this and understand what it means for their kids, their families, I mean, it's a really incredible step, and I hope it's something we can really formalize and make part of not just this great administration, but future ones.
Well, I think too, Senator, and thank you for your leadership on this, that I have been a longtime advocate of financial literacy, and I think that this will be a real-time experiment in financial literacy as the families, as the children are able to look at their accounts on their phone and be
just
part
watch
of
which
this
side of
growth.
the
I
cloud
think
this
that it
is
will
on.
become
Can it hold up
very
here, or is
real
it getting smacked?
and,
Same thing with
engaging
banking. Can
for
it
them.
hold up here, or is it going to get
I
smacked?
agree.
Basically, watch the
Final
low
question
from
is, you know that
11:45.
the trajectory of U.S. debt is unsustainable. Net interest payments alone account for 14% of total government spending, and higher debt levels combined with high interest rates put upward pressure on the cost to service our debt. Further, $10 trillion of government debt will
All right,
mature
we're gonna
over
be
the
shutting
next
this
year
down
and
in
roll over,
3
which is a
minutes. This is
third,
getting boring.
a little less than a third, I guess, of debt outstanding. Can you discuss briefly the conditions in the U.S. Treasury market and the trends you're monitoring as we enter this period?
Senator, thus far the market has been very resilient. We've had some of our best auctions in a long time this year. We're seeing very good foreign demand. But as you said, the trajectory, we have
bouncing off
to
VWAP.
get it back under control. As
Pinned to
I
VWAP
talked,
at this point.
Earlier, we need to get back to something with a
Right
3
here.
in front of it in terms of deficit to GDP. Reason
I'm
I
lucky
came out
I got
from
out at
behind my
break
desk
even.
was
I tried to
was
play that
worried
breakdown.
that many
I moved it
people,
early, got lucky.
especially as Vice President Harris was campaigning, I wanted to go into a European-style social democracy, low growth, raise taxes, growth lower, more taxes, unsustainable debt. So that's why at FSOC, we are focused on growth as as desirable, but also a lack of growth as a financial stability risk.
I don't have time for a final question, but I will just say I want to compliment you and the administration and OFAC in particular for the maximum pressure campaign on Iran and what that means for supporting freedom in Iran. So thank you for that. Thank you, your team.
Thank you.
Senator Blunt Rochester.
Thank you, Ranking Member Warren and Mr. Secretary, for your
Order
presentation of
submitted.
the 2025 annual report. Mr. Secretary, in your testimony, you talked about avoiding, quote, regulation by reflex and focusing on growth instead of reacting to every potential risk. You say FSOC is, quote, tuning out the white noise to concentrate on the issues that matter most. From my constituent calls and emails and conversations, I know for most families, they don't experience economic policy as white noise. They experience it through higher rent, higher medical bills, higher grocery prices, and just worrying that the next bill or price increase will push them over the edge. And it's why the Financial Stability Oversight Council's job is so important and why it can't wait.
Could be a higher
markets
low
break.
here, a little bit of a VWAP
Its job
bounce.
is to spot problems early before
Watching this
families
zone.
pay the price. Housing-related risks have been showing up for decades. On this committee, we've worked on the road to housing in a bipartisan way. And my first policy agenda, actually, as a senator, was focused on housing. So today, I want to understand what Treasury has actually done with these warnings. Secretary Bessent, in 2024, FSOC issued a report warning of weaknesses in non-bank mortgage servicers, companies that now handle most U.S. mortgages. Last year, on January 31st, 2025, GAO also warned that
All right.
trouble at these firms could disrupt federally backed mortgage.
This is getting incredibly boring, but similar to yesterday, it was definitely, I suppose, some enjoyable screaming matches. I'm just making sure I clean up this so we don't have extra windows on the next stream. Folks, the shorter time frame is attempting to go bullish. I would argue that it's questionable just because the 5-minute, it's trying to go bullish, but the 10 minutes still bearish. Same thing here on NQ. It's trying to pump, but if it fails, like it's basically, how are
Order
we?
submitted.
Hang on, mine just got, oops, it just knocked me short. I'm gonna risk that recent swing high. What is that breakdown? The breakdown is at 30, right? Where's the breakdown? The breakdown's at 727. Do I want that, or do I want to go more? If it were to break, where do I think this could go? That's a low 82, 60. All right, we'll go to 85, just if it switches. So basically, the thought process here is I'm risking minimal. It's struggling at VWAP. Yes, you could argue, but Matt, there's a 50% chance it holds VWAP and keeps going. Yeah, it could. Like, yeah, for sure. That's why my risk is minimal. I'm risking the recent swing high. If I'm right and we fail at VWAP, take out this low at 730, I think we puke to 700 to 685 and I lock it in. I don't know. Give me a 50-50 shot on this, but I'm taking on minimal risk. I'm taking on high reward. And of course, as we start to push the 750 area, I'll move my stop to break even anyway. I have no crystal ball. I'm not clairvoyant. I don't know what the future is going to be, but I can do basic risk versus reward. And I'm literally just saying, okay, it's struggling at VWAP. I saw that low. It popped up. It's a lower high. We just took out that low. Yes, maybe it's a fake out. That is possible. I fully admit it could be possible, but I just don't know. I got to take a shot at it. And maybe this overall trend right here, 5-minute, maybe this fails. Maybe the 10-minute holds bearish. Maybe the 4-hour holds bearish. Maybe this 5-minute fails. Maybe this 10-minute, see, I'm just basically playing the rejection at 840. Maybe it's right. Maybe it's wrong. You never know when trend is going to reverse, which is why, regardless of how confident you are, be reasonable with your stop. Okay. I'm risking this recent high. Maybe I get knocked out. Totally possible. And guess what? Then from there, I could go long. But I'm just trying to play the current structure, failure at key levels or success at key levels. And most importantly, I'm keeping my risk in control, especially relative to my reward. But as you can see, I'm done with the FFN accounts. They all made about 1.3K today. I'm trading on the take profits and the Lucids right now. I did lock in 2K. So I have about 100 points of buffer to go break even. But if this goes in my favor, that's going to be another 100 points because I'm short at 790 and my stop or my profit target is at 685. So if all goes according to plan, these are going to hop up to 4K, but you never know. If I wanted to, I could move my stop down to 803, 810, be protected by 800. Today is quite volatile. There's quite a bit of whippiness in today. So like, unfortunately, I have to give it a little bit more room, but I do like the fact of maybe, just maybe, I could get protected by VWAP and maybe I can move my stop to 804, which is about 14, 15 points of risk with a short at 90. So I just need a little bit of a push down to, like I said, 750, 760, somewhere in here. Do I want to do it? You know what? I'm going to move my stop to 810. So right now, taking on 20 points of risk. I'm taking on $400 worth of risk to maybe get $2,000. With these types of trades, I only have to be one in 5 times to be break even. So I want to be very clear about that. I'm confident, like maybe, but I don't know. Like I said, if you're going for 2K, which why is that not showing up? I think this is the trick. Gemify, you add it. Okay. Points, ticks. Did it work? Nope. Hang on. So it seems like as soon as you change the checkbox, that's where it works. Ticks, apply, ticks. Okay. Right there. So now it's working. Now it tells you the value. So I'm risking $410 to go for 2,100. Obviously, if you do the basic math, I only have to be right 1 in 5 of these to get to be break even. So I don't even need to be right that often, literally 20% of the time. And I'm actually arguing that I have about 50-50 probability. And of course, if we take out 730, this swing low right there, that's when I'd be moving the stop to break even and take all risk off the table. So if I want, maybe I should just for... All right, now I'm only risking $290 and I'm already up 2K on all these accounts. So I think that's pretty reasonable. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, folks, that's kind of what I have for you. Before I let you go, let me switch myself over here. Remember, the best deal right now is TPT, code Goonie, 40% off and no activation fee, and not far behind, a couple dollars more. Lucid, I just showed you, I'm trading both those accounts. I like the FlexiBack the best on Lucid, personal opinion, but once again, code Goonie will get you the best deal. And if you want to trade with me, options, futures, great community, a lot of education, GoonieTrading.com, pinned to the top of chat in the description of the video. Here's the plan. I'll be posting an update video later on today, and then we're going to be streaming once again tomorrow for Payday Friday, so definitely do not miss out on that. Folks, I appreciate all the good vibes. I appreciate you clowning around with me and listening to Bissent. I know it's a little bit more of a chill day just because I'm not going too crazy with my big Apex accounts. I'm taking today off on those ones, and I'm probably going to take off tomorrow as well, just to let it all kind of process and marinate in my brain. So that's what I have for you. I appreciate all the good vibes. I'll catch you in the update video today. We're posting some shorts today. It's going everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. It's everywhere. And then I'll catch you in the update video and then streaming again tomorrow for Payday Friday. Thank you. I'll catch you later. Peace.